just to be fun.
No, it was really bright.
Hey, everybody, how we doing? Welcome, people.
Hi. I'm special.
Yeah. My camera's completely blown out now. I've
It's
moved
fine.
position.
We'll just listen. We're gonna just deal with it. We'll live with how white we are on the whiteness.
It is what it is. So, hi everybody, how we doing? We are here to talk about Justice League because, I mean, it's been talked about a lot, and obviously we're probably not going to offer too much different to what anyone else has said about it.
Zero new insights.
Yeah. Hey, look, here's some white guys talking about a film that's involving superheroes.
Blood Spider is saying they cannot hear Gary if he was just speaking. Thank you, Blood Spider X. We also on YouTube have a hello from Dubai. I like reading all the comments. So.
Go for it, mate. Go for it. I mean, that's the whole point of doing this kind of thing, is to be able to chat more. I mean, we've all been antisocial this year in various ways.
I've been alone in this room for, I assume, 20 years? I don't know. It's.
I had a little snap today because I saw an advert on TV which was quite literally like, hey, I was unhealthy during the lockdown. And it's like, there's still a fucking lockdown. What do you mean was? Where's this past tense of was coming from?
Okay, is that better now? I can't tell. I think.
You sound about right on my.
I'm showing that my mic
stream
is showing up. Okay, cool.
Blood Spider gives a good, and if Blood
Terribly
Spider
alarmed
is
here
for it, then I'm here for it.
Hey, Tiger Lady with the bits. Thank you very much.
And I forgot that it plays a Jeff Goldblum Jurassic Park clip on the audio for this when that happens. So I'm fairly alarmed here.
Do it. So yeah.
So yes, so this chat, to make up for it, is going to be an 8-hour chat about a 4-hour movie.
4 hour for each part. I will say now, I just want to put a conditional on it. Yes, we all agree Joss Whedon is trash. Just because obviously we're going to need to compare bits and bobs to that. But yeah, as a human being, he's absolute trash. I want to just give that a carte blanche.
There is a carte blanche. Like there is a lot of political stuff that goes on in Hollywood. I have heard bad stories about people that would shock you that they are bad from people. And you will hear equally as good stories about those people. So we're not here to talk about Joss Whedon and his interactions with people.
I mean, so there is a couple of scenes that obviously got removed in the Snyder Cut that was very Joss Whedon-esque, like Barry landing on Diana's boobs.
Which is a joke that's in Age of Ultron. I mean, there is a...
Exactly.
I should also point out, there's a term that I absolutely dislike, which is the Justice League or the Joss Whedon cut, because... It should be noted, and like, Joss Whedon may be a terrible human being, or whatever. He knows how to make movies. Is his thing. Avengers is by far one of the best superhero movies you will ever see. Obviously we all grew up on Buffy, Firefly. Obviously there was for years everyone was like, well, how did this not get a second season? So a lot of the problems with Justice League don't just come from Joss Whedon being thrown in. It is, here's a studio with a 4-hour film. What you watched is what was filmed before Zack Snyder left. And you're kind of given a mandate of Deadpool just did really well and Marvel's doing really well. We want younger audiences to come in and watch this, so it can't be violent. We want to sell toys, and we need it to, fit in 2 hours. We need to get as many screenings out of this movie as possible to make the money back for it. So, and you watch this 4-hour version, and you can, I will hats off to the editors who worked on the 2017 version for making it even remotely watchable as a film, because that is an achievement to cut 4 hours down to 2, including credits. So like that is my one like caveat. I call the 2017 one the studio cut because it was just ticking a huge amount of boxes. That said, I'm not here to defend the 2017 one. It is not a good film.
I think that's the thing. It's this isn't necessarily about like which one's a masterpiece or not. I think one of the big things is which one's less trash.
I mean, that is because there is a term that immediately I saw reviews come out, and I guess you guys might have seen it as well, that just went, superior. And I'm like, better doesn't mean a great film. It just means it is better than the thing that came before. But I guess before we really get into like the like depth of this one here, I just kind of wanted to go, okay, surface level, where we all sit with DC stuff as a thing. Because like growing up, I read a lot of Marvel comics. I remember reading some like DC comics in the library. I don't know that much about DC stuff apart from what I'd watch in Batman the Animated Series and, Tim Burton's Batman, etc., like the movies or the Flash TV show in the 90s, and, some CW shows that I did watch and then tuned out on because they got bad. That is all my DC knowledge, is that. So like deep cuts are lost on me.
yeah. I'm pretty much similar. Pretty much the mainstream stuff. I mean, take it that way. If it's the mainstream bits and bobs, I did read quite a few of the more of the graphic novels as a younger age, but that was mainly because when I used to live with my nan and granddad when I was younger, they owned a bookshop, and that was the only thing remotely close to a comic that was in there. It was either that or Dandy and Beano. So I wouldn't say knowledgeable, but got a passing. But
know enough to have know enough things to piece stuff together, but not the deeper fabric of the DC unit. Like I know surface level stuff, so I'm gonna assume, as a wild stab in the dark, that Tyler's might be the outlier here.
Magnitude's better.
I perhaps am a DC fanboy. I'm not saying that I definitely for sure have an inbox General Zod action figure next to my computer at all times, but the Terrence Stamp version. But I've always been a fan. For the longest time, Marvel was doing good on the movies and DC was doing good on the animated movies. Like if you watched any other direct-to-DVD stuff, that's actually where they're shining mostly. But yeah, like I'm a huge fan of the comics, huge fan of the movies.
Well, I mean,
I've watched every single one in theaters since I was old enough to go to them. So
yeah, and on top of that, I mean, you don't obviously have to say what, but as far as I remember from personal things that you said, that you've been physically paid to work on DC-based IP, so you've been good enough to be paid on it.
Yeah, I can even do that. The show Krypton, I wrote the after show for.
Oh yeah.
Where we would have to actually pick apart the trivia on it, and interesting challenge that was presented by that show. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or if it was under my NDA. Don't care. What are they going to do? Not hire me for the not next season?
Which is a shame.
But they wouldn't tell me what trivia was in the episode. I got it early, and I would watch it and have to like pull out stuff, and they would just tell me if it was like wrong. Like I could full on like I had to watch the episode and be like, oh, that's a reference to this, and that's a reference to this. And they'd be like, yeah, good work. And they wanted to see like if I could do it. So I have been a professional movie trivia nerd watcher. So.
There we go. So, yeah, I think like one of the things that compelled me to watch it as quick as it came out, because I honestly wasn't rushing to it, but I think this is the thing. Snyder's got this weird, I'm going to say cult when it comes to his work. Like if you like Snyder stuff, those people just worship him. There's very...
I mean, I've got Dawn of the Dead over here somewhere.
Yeah, that is the one that I own, is Dawn of the Dead, and Dawn of the Dead, the director's cut.
I mean, like, there's liking, someone for something, great, and there's, really liking someone, but no, in Snyder fandom, you jump straight away to worship him like a god, he can do no wrong. There's no of those, like, micro steps, like, so it's kind of weird, like, the day it came out, what was Thursday, and then, like, that morning, I'm seeing people going, it's poetry. It's a masterpiece. It's, I saw someone compare it to Scorsese. Now, I know obviously he has opinions on superhero films, but...
In that he also made a 4-hour-long, really self-indulgent film that went direct to streaming the last couple of years.
Yeah, with some dodgy CGI, maybe even.
I want to say this, though, and this is a caveat that I want to run, and I'll probably say a couple times during this talk here. If you loved this film, I am so happy for you. That's great. Yeah. It's been a time where we need something to love and something to watch. Nothing I can say should diminish your love from the film, but in the same way, nothing you can say is going to make me suddenly like it.
Well, I will
two-way street.
I will compare it to this. I think I said this to my buddy Nick the other day when we were playing Apex. I kind of said it reminds me a lot of whenever people try and tell me that Super Mario Brothers the movie is bad and Masters of the Universe is bad. I'm like, I know,
no, those
but
great films.
I watched them like 500 times.
I think this mushroom's trying to tell me something, and we need to follow it.
I mean, I do find a lot of parallels between Super Mario Brothers the movie and Justice League.
In that Super Mario should have been 4 hours long.
And he should have been chasing after some boxes.
Yes, that's true.
I want to see a half-hour prologue afterwards as well. That'd be pretty good.
The epically long epilogue where I redefine the term
like,
epilogue.
There's this big barn to shoot at. What part of it are we aiming at first? Like, are we going in order for this? Well,
okay,
I need to know so I can organize some thoughts.
Okay, this is a good question that we probably should have like worked out first because there's a lot of stuff to really take in. But I think the easiest place to jump into is. I don't know what the easiest place to jump into is. I just kind of sat there and I went like, boom, there's this massive thing.
I mean, okay, so I think one of the cool things is obviously there's a lot more scenes that have been fleshed out, and I think it might be worth looking at it from like almost character by character basis because they're the things that change the most.
Yeah.
You know, if you take Steppenwolf, for example, we actually now know his motivations.
He's a
much
character
more...
now. Like,
yeah,
I get what's going on with him.
Yeah, with his big old fucking anime eyes, where he gets all sad boy. I actually felt a little bit sad that he got bullied by whatever the other guy's name is. That's it.
Spooky mustache.
This is my job. This is what I'm here for today.
Dropping the knowledge.
Named after the Marquis de Sade, by the way, because he was the lead torturer for the...
I was going to say just that.
For the New Gods.
Talk about Cyborg stalk.
Yeah, but like
and he's always
when
been ready.
Darkseid shows up and Steppenwolf like strips away his armor and he's just sitting there. It was like, oh, that's actually like that's a powerful character moment for this villain. It's like there's a guy above him and he's like all of this is just to prove something to his genuine god who can stand in front of him. Like that's way cooler than just like I am here, world go boom now. Like, cool.
Which I mean I will also say, as much as like they improved, Steppenwolf in terms of giving a motivation, I don't think for me that I felt like the new design was different. I don't necessarily know if it was better, especially his face. That I found like one comparable is the character of Artemis from Ready Player One, looks just like him, and the little creatures at the beginning of Star Trek Beyond. That go to Kirk, like, why don't they want it? They look like him.
So I thought of something the other day, and I was literally saving this for right now to talk to you two, specifically for Gary, because I think Gary will get this one the most. So in the original, in the studio cut in the 2017, when they defeat Steppenwolf by like cutting him and having the parademons like swarm him. Is that not the exact scene from the Lost in Space movie?
That is. Like, they eat their young. They eat their wounded.
They eat their wounded. And then, like they swarm them like did they just rip off the goddamn Lost in Space movie with so like him being defeated by just having his ass get kicked real hard
which
way better in this.
Is one of those things where I that feels like one of those studio notes that came in and went, okay, the heroes can't kill anything. Because heroes don't kill, so you need to figure out a way from what you have for him to get killed, like, by something that isn't them. Because it's like, we can't have Superman laser off a horn and pummel him to death with this, or Wonder Woman cut his head off, and it's like, Zack Snyder's like, no, yes we can, because nothing is more heroic than watching Superman laser a living being's appendages off.
I'll give him that. He did do good use of the extra R rating, the 18 rating.
Well, especially because a lot of you don't know this, but like physiologically speaking, that's his junk. He just cut his dick. There's no way to disprove that. So that's canon.
It's canon. But yeah, you get a lot more violence from it. From everything with all the. I mean, I quite liked the mirror sucking the blood out of his face. I thought was quite a nice touch. But yeah, saying about the armor as well. I think they kind of went a bit over the top with the it being everywhere. Like
with the clicky frills.
Yeah, everywhere.
It kind of
Every
reminded
single
me
bit.
of the Michael Bay like Transformers kind of stuff, where it was just like it is just doing stuff for the I don't understand why or how.
I swear to God, one person on the crew watched the first Thor movie and saw the Destroyer and was like, "Oh, we'll just do that. That's cool." Where it goes like we'll do that. That's fine.
90s graphic card box armor.
I mean, I feel like again though, it's one of those things of where it is one of those visually it is different than the other one. I don't know if it's necessarily.
If you're watching this on dailies, like without the story altogether, you'd be like, "That's a cool looking suit of armor."
Yeah, I mean the silhouette of him now looks a lot cooler. I'll give it that. It was just whenever it cuts to the face, that she's like a big, massive Alita battle angel eyes staring at me, being sad
I think
about.
I can do my beard like his. Hold on.
Fucking simping for Darkseid.
But so you have like obviously we've got like his character gets fleshed out, and then we have two other Justice League characters who get one of them gets a lot more stuff, and the other one gets a bit more stuff, which is obviously Cyborg gets a lot more stuff. But I feel like Barry would be the quickest one to kind of get through.
Well, Barry
Quite literally
use of his powers now.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which
Well,
yeah. Sorry, Nick. You can.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, like, so actually, the two main scenes with him in terms of power usage, changing it for the good of one where they're firing up the mother box to bring Clark back is fantastic, because it isn't just about him now timing it. It's him. He reverses time just to get it right, which they then obviously use as great exposition to use for the big fight later on. He's actually there for a reason, rather than going, "Oh yeah, there's some kids in a pickup. Do you want to just go do a runner with them, mate?" And yeah.
I mean, that Russian family, though, how am I not supposed to feel invested for this city is important.
Again, though, is like one of those things of whenever you watch this version, you like, if you obviously like, we probably get it from like filmmaking standpoint, is you kind of sit there and go, okay, now I understand why this family was created, because
I like this thing.
You need
What was that?
that was to let me know we have any follower.
Oh, good. All right.
Hey Rebel, how you doing?
Oh yeah, it comes up on there in a second. The family in the truck is because they were kind of sat there in the edit thing and went, okay, well this final fight is now like 15 minutes like total in the studio cut. There's no material of the Flash doing anything. Like, we need the Flash to be doing something, and we need Superman to be doing something so that we can like drag out him arriving and drag out him doing this. So now we need him to leave the fight to go do this. So they came up with this saving people, because that's what heroes do.
One of my favorite things for the Flash was the fact that a parademon figured out that one of the Flash's weaknesses, if he runs in a circle, he's technically always in one spot.
Yeah.
Which was like watching that guy with the gun be like, wait a second. Pew, hey!
And then I did like as well, like there was the obviously that's the final bat, which is a vast improvement. But earlier on in the movie, I did enjoy some of the extra stuff of him and his dad.
100%.
I thought that was a good addition to the movie.
I mean, I do remember watching the studio cut and being like, he didn't grab a hot dog and save a car accident, though.
Yeah,
so
and I
I
still wish that wasn't in the movie, because it adds absolutely nothing.
Well, I was thinking about that earlier on. I think obviously the big thing with this film is that it has added some great bits, and I think like Stephanie Storm just said in YouTube, like I feel like I'm the only one who didn't like Snyder Cut. Like, we have big issues with it. There is some nice things that have added to this film, which I think we all know. This is good, but ultimately it's still garbage.
Very much.
Not
We're kind
garbage,
of compliment sandwiching this very briefly on the
yeah, exactly. So don't feel like this is going to be praise all the way through.
Don't you worry, because I can count like 1 hour of things I can talk about that are good versus 3 hours.
Yeah.
No,
but
this
saying
film
about
versus the old one is like nausea versus heartburn, where it's like I don't even know which one I like better, but they're different.
Yeah. But I mean, like saying about the Barry scene, I quite enjoyed the car sequence as a whole, but I didn't enjoy him in the pet store sequence whilst doing it. I didn't like the framing around that. And it's like you could have just quite easily had him walking down the street one day and that whole car flipping truck thing be the thing.
I feel like the problem is that I kind of took from like, it's whenever they have one of those scenes in a movie in a superhero movie in particular, or just any movie, is I kind of sit there and go, okay, this is our moment to go, this guy is a hero. But instead they pivot it to, this guy is clearly has the hots for this character that we know is Iris because the cast list says it's Iris. But from the outside, it's just, he just does a creepy thing where he talks awkwardly and shuts the door in her face, and then he like strokes her hair a little bit as he saves her from a thing and grabs a hot dog. It just,
I actually, in that one moment, I did like the idea that like Flash has to be really careful if he actually wants to save someone, because you know, force and velocity are kind of intertwined with like damage. So like I think that was like a kind of cool bit of just like, hey, you know, the other ones like they do whatever, but like he would actually have to like really softly move someone to not break every bone in their body. That was, I saw that part, you know, like when there's a fan film for like The Punisher or Venom or whatever, you're like, oh, that was like a really cool 5 minutes of what like just a day in the life of that character was. It felt like they plopped one of those in the middle of the movie. Like, hey, here's a quick little scene with the Flash. That would have been a cool short film. It's like, yeah, you know, we're watching a movie right now, right? You want to tell the story you're telling and not just do like a 5-minute short story in the middle of your novel.
I
content that never comes. Here's a character we're introduced to these days. Never
does anything else ever.
And that sequence.
It's a short film in the middle of the movie.
It really would make a great YouTube short, just that. I mean, they could have fucking released that as marketing.
If they just put that up, I would have been like, oh, that's a really cool short film with the Flash where he saves one person. That's cool. Yeah. But like, again, in the movie, it's like, no, it doesn't. It shows that he was trying to get a job, but he gets distracted.
Do you know
also, why does just his shoes explode and not the rest of him?
Well, yeah, I was waiting for it to come back to the shop owner whilst he's sitting there with all the puppies afterwards and just be looking down and he's like, your shoes are there. Why are you in the puppy pen with no shoes? Like, what the fuck? Like, I know this has just gone on, but we need to address these shoes.
But the speed only affects shoes.
It's a very shoe-centric speed.
The electricity running around him doesn't, like, burn massive holes in fabric or anything. Just... but, yeah, that's... The stuff with his dad was important. I mean, the other thing is his dad's like, oh, you haven't got a job, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, like you're struggling to do this. It's like, so all the information you get given already, you're then shown this really long slow-mo sequence to go, oh look, he's trying to get a job, and it's like, but we already know.
In the tradition of DCU fathers, where they're like, hey, listen, I want you to abandon me and give up hope and not do anything good visibly. And just move on. Like
just
Flash and Superman can unite over that.
Shortly after him leaving the prison, a tornado strikes the prison, and there was nothing the Flash could have done. So
no, it's just his dad going. Even though he doesn't even know he has powers, he just wants to be like, don't leave it as a person. Try to help.
But saying that, the other part of that prison is we come back to that in the epilogue part, and that scene drags on a bit too much.
It's a nice payoff, but it is way too long.
Oh, also, like we'll get to the epilogue part eventually because that's its own beast of a thing. But then we have Cyborg, who is a character
now
was nothing really in the studio cut that came out in 2017. He has a backstory now. I still find him bland and boring. I think that's more in the performance than anything else.
I mean, he was broody in the 2017, and now he's just broody but longer in this one.
Also, I did feel bad because I'm just going to keep calling the actor Miles Dyson because that's all I see every time he's in a scene is Miles Dyson. Miles Dyson was giving a lot, but in certain bits not getting much back, other than a blank. They didn't quite get to a point in the movie where I thought, you know what, I like Cyborg, because they kept calling him the heart of the movie, and I was like, he seems to be a dick like the whole way through this, and I'm like, yeah, but the other part is you kind of sit there and go, oh, I've been turned into a robot, and my mother died, and I'm like, well, you're hanging out with a dude who's dressed like a bat whose parents were murdered in front of him, and he's he's dealing with his problems.
Yeah, well, and there's other versions of the Cyborg backstory where like he feels responsible for his mother dying. Like there's versions where they were like she was a scientist as well, and he's in the lab, and like something happened where they're both in the lab during an argument, and he feels like, oh shit, like I caused her death. And I shouldn't be here, so he has more survivor guilt kind of thing with it. Whereas this one, like, it's they kill the mom, and the motivation for that is now the mom's not there.
Yeah,
she was supportive.
Well, I mean, it didn't help
in the same way.
From that absolute trash fucking delivery from the doctor, like your wife's dead, your son's not going to make it either.
Oh God,
enjoy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was
all right. Was that just? I literally think that was the script supervisor standing in for whoever the actual doctor was meant to be.
So, yeah,
but also, I
people are
struggled
bringing up
with.
the version I was talking about was Doom Patrol Cyborg.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yeah, because they said about that in the chat on Twitch. But yeah, I think also the other thing that annoyed me with that scene is we go from having a car crash scene with Barry to having a car crash scene with Cyborg. It was just too many car crash scenes, like back to back.
Well,
Like,
if only Barry had the slight hots for Cyborg's mom.
Oh, could you imagine that's what splits the Justice League up? Is Barry sides up to Cyborg Bum's OnlyFans?
Yeah, so like Cyborg is given these moments. I mean, like, and obviously, like, having his father die in front of him is another moment where it's like, I'm very emotional about this. 2, 3, 4. All right, what do we got going on?
People need to learn how to drive that, yeah.
Or
you
not
get a crash. You get a crash.
or like I immediately the first thing with I wonder if it was the same truck driver in both situations. Then that's the missing footage that we didn't get.
Oh, it's been a day, I tell ya.
It's just like just cuts to him and he's like,
"Stop doing the burgers.
This
is
it's the day I'm cutting out red meat."
First, I dropped my morning sandwich. Now I'm dropping my evening sandwich. Oh.
Yeah. Well, also just like if you drop the sandwich on the bottom of a truck floor, just let that sandwich go, champ.
No,
That sandwich is gone now.
So Chris in the chat said the truck driver is Darkseid. I think actually the truck driver is Stephen Wolf.
The anti-life equation is gunning it through an intersection.
Okay, I don't want to bring it back up again. It's going to come back up again, but you mentioned it. The anti-life equation, which is mentioned 900 times in the space of about 45 seconds in the film, is something I don't understand what it is. I don't understand why it's in
motivation.
This movie.
That's his classic main motivation.
I do feel like it came straight out of fucking Tenet, the way they kept saying it was such like, oh, it's the algorithm. Oh, it's the anti-life equation. Okay, all right.
It was more so the thing of like, okay, I'm just going to hit... Just whilst this is fresh in my mind of you saying is I was very confused. Like, although we said they explained a lot of Steppenwolf's motivations, so back in the day, like thousands of years ago or whatever, Darkseid shows up with his army and gets fought off by everybody, and the mother boxes get left behind. But he finds out whilst he's on Earth that that's where the anti-life equation is. Well, and then Darkseid forgets where they parked for that thing. Didn't write down on a map. Like, my phone tells me where I've been, like, all the time. But he couldn't keep track of that because he was like, well, I know the boxes are on the planet Earth because I left them there whenever we lost. And I know where that is because I've been there. But I've forgotten. And then, like, the Steppenwolf goes, oh, the anti-life equation is here. I'll tell him. And he's like, okay. Like, all right, maybe he didn't know where it was, and it's like assemble the armada or whatever. We'll go the old way. And it's like, so you do know where Earth is, and you can travel there by spaceship. Like I don't understand. What?
And then at the end of the film, he still opens up, which by the way they're called boom tubes, and I just love that as a term.
I remember that name.
Yeah. Well, and in the film they go like boom, like when they come in, they're called boom tubes. But at the end, he's like, "We'll go the old way," and then they just open up the boom tubes, where they go like, "Well, that's the new way, champ. Like that's not the old way at all."
But I was very confused by like that whole and it is okay. This is a question I have no answer. Is the anti-life equation on Earth in various comic book things?
The anti-life equation is a MacGuffin, but it depends on what storyline you were.
Okay.
It can be on Earth. It's been on other places. One of my favorite comics. That was kind of like an Elseworlds one was Mr. Mxyzptlk and Batmite destroyed every multiverse, and in one of them they like straight up murder Darkseid. I don't know if you know those two characters. They're insane. They're two little imps from different dimensions that like torture Superman and Batman. But they're like comic. They're throwbacks from like the 70s of just like comic code characters. Where like we can't have villains anymore. What if like the Mad Hatter showed up with God powers and messed with Superman?
I think there's at least been a couple of like live action-ish versions of the Mxyzptlks. At least I feel like in like Smallville and stuff like that.
In one of the comics, they kill Darkseid, and he's laughing insanely as he dies because they handed him a piece of paper that said anti-life equation, and it was just a picture of the two of them. So it's in whatever comic you want the MacGuffin in, but that is his main. That is constantly his main goal is achieve the anti-life.
So really, it didn't need to be in the movie at all.
It would have been as though in the first Avengers movie, Darkseid was like, I'm assembling the Infinity Gauntlet and I will use it to snap the universe in half. Like if he had shouted that in the first movie.
Okay, yeah,
that would have been the same thing.
It was just kind of a weird thing because I was getting, by the end of it, I was like, okay, so the mother boxes aren't related to this thing at all. It just so happens that these two super powerful things that take over and destroy worlds are both on Earth. Because, coincidence is always a great thing in every script.
Earth is always the nexus
Unexpected.
for everything in every universe. That's what we have. It's just easier.
The other thing that I was getting confused about as well was the emphasis on these mother boxes. Because they say, right, okay, you go to a planet, the three boxes combine, the planet then becomes like his home planet, and he moves on the next. And then he said, "Oh, I've conquered 50,000 planets." So does that mean that every time he's conquered those planets, he's had 3 sets of mother boxes? Like once they get smushed into the Unity, do they do their thing and then get unsmushed and move on to the next, or do they get spent when they get put into that Unity? I couldn't quite figure that out.
It seemed like at the end of this one here, they say when they separated them, they were destroyed. So...
Well, they separated them without them wanting to be separated, though.
So because that's what I was confused by, was like, what was the emphasis on these mother boxes? Are these the only 3 boxes in existence, which is why he's so keen to get hold of them again? Or... But then how has he been able to go and conquer X amount of lands?
I can't speak to how they're using the mother boxes in this universe. Because, again, it's one of those things where it's like it changes between who's the writer at the time. Where, like, sometimes the mother box is just, like, a helpful tool that the new gods are using for stuff. And then sometimes it's an atomic goddamn bomb that you can...
Yeah, I tried to read up on them. And it's like, there's a couple that are used for very intelligent reasons of effectively AI companionship and stuff like that. And... but yeah, I just couldn't get a grasp on what the film was trying to tell me. Like, are these the only 3 mother boxes, and he's just been like Thanos, maybe doing the old school way of conquering planets, just going around and slaughtering everyone, or has he been using 3 mother boxes on each planet? If so, why is the emphasis on these 3? Why is the emphasis on and then again,
these 3 mother boxes in this movie add me to another little thing that just occurred. Okay, so. The movie starts, with the end of Batman v Superman.
We're all the way back here. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. No. This is
40 minutes into the stream, and we're just talking about the start of the film.
Ignoring the 4-minute pointless recap of Batman v Superman's ending, the idea...
I'm going to stop you. I actually liked the idea of Batman dying, setting off the mother box.
This leads to my question, is Superman scream... cracks the mother boxes, and they go, there's no Kryptonian to protect Earth, or the mother box has been cracked because Superman died. Don't know how the two are linked, because it doesn't make any sense. But what is the time frame of Justice League? Yeah. Because it seems to now lean really into the Jesus metaphor of, 3 days. But that doesn't make any sense, because Batman's like, I've spent weeks hunting for people. Yes. And yet the mother box is cracked instantly whenever Superman dies. Like, the echo goes across the planet, the one of Themyscira cracks, and they're like, oh, were those Amazonians standing there for 2 months pointing bows and arrows at a box? And
what else do they have going on?
Redwood just went, Jesus, Snyder, never.
But I want to point out this is just a personal issue that I have with Themyscira. And it's an issue I have with films where they have this society was untouched by time and they all live it's Roman time kind of things. Why are they living in active ruins if their civilization never stopped?
Yeah.
All of their buildings are half smashed down and that kind of thing. It's no, you live here and it's been thousands. You'd rebuild that, repaint it and shit.
Yeah. You're really strong. Lift some bricks.
Very pristine and nice. Why are all your buildings what we know as ruins?
Can I also point out one other structural thing I noticed watching this version of the movie is they do the knock down the pillars to seal the entrance. Yeah. There's a giant skylight in the roof of that thing.
Oh yeah.
You didn't seal anybody in anything. The flying creatures can still fly out of the roof of this.
It would have been great if when they popped up, she was just right.
So the only thing that I can kind of that gave a kind of almost solid time frame of the whole thing was Lois's new story added in that she's pregnant. So obviously must have got pregnant pre-Superman death, unless they did some egg freezing. I don't know if you can freeze Spider-Man's egg. Spider-Man.
You could definitely freeze Spider-Man's egg.
Yeah. God damn it.
He encouraged
Freeze
it.
Spider-Man, Superman's sperm. So obviously you've got the pregnancy test halfway through, so she's pondering it, and then at the end of the film, she's carrying the baby basket, and Affleck drops the congratulations. So she must know that she's pregnant, or she's showing by the time at the end of the film. So we could be talking.
Was on the engagement.
If you look at it, the box. So this is one of the edits. I looked it up. In the 2017 one, she's just carrying boxes moving back into the farmhouse. In the Snyder one, she's carrying a baby basket, or it's either a different kind of basket.
Okay, because I picked up. Obviously, I picked up the very subtle hints at the engagement ring, with the giant macro shot of her holding a coffee cup in the rain, looking at a monument with an engagement ring, because that is Jack Howard, obviously who we know from Jack and Dean thing. He did a story that just kind of summed up like those sequences. Is he was like, Zack Snyder can come up with great visuals, especially when he has comic book references and stuff. But he goes, when it comes to character moments and subtle information, he has the subtlety of a sledgehammer. And I was like, that immediately, whenever she shows up and it cuts to this giant macro shot of her with a ring, I was like, this feels like a film student thing of going, oh, I need to give this detail, but this detail is super important. Is it? It is super important.
And then later I need to have another character out loud say the things that we definitely make sure.
And then we need another character to mention it again later on.
But what
I need to do it in slow-mo.
Let's not do is have two characters that had a conversation where one of them turned out to be a shapeshifter ever bring up the fact that conversation took place. I'm jumping us right to there if we're on Lois Lane shit.
I mean, we may as well cover the Lois Lane stuff because there is so little of it. But I swear, the scenes earlier on are actually just from like the same shoot as the other one, because I was like, oh, she seems to be wearing the same thing, and just wherever she goes, she buys coffee apparently.
Just constantly coffee. She's got like 15 Costa Coffee little stamps going on at any one time.
But yeah, the Martian Manhunter edition was, I think,
Manhunter. That's right. Martha Manhunter. I just thought of that now. I'm very proud of myself.
Oh, mate.
Get in the comments with it.
Get in the comments. Hashtag Martha Manhunter.
Hashtag Martha Manhunter.
It's going to get bumper stickers made.
I'm very proud of myself right now.
I think...
You know what? I'm signing off. I had a good one. All right, good chat.
Because Blood Spider, I think, said the other day, he was like, the worst part of that is it takes away from Martha.
Yeah.
Having that scene is you lose a good Martha scene for it just to be like, but it wasn't Martha at all. So it's like you kind of sit there and go, oh, I guess Martha doesn't give a shit about Lois either.
That the Martian Manhunter also knew that she had lost the farm, and no one is helping this poor woman.
No.
Yeah.
Like, all of them are very aware that she's having her house taken by the bank.
Also,
and they're like, what you gonna do?
Why does the Martian Manhunter do the same? Like, because obviously Bruce goes, oh, the Flash showed up from the future, and he told me that Lois is important. And the Martian Manhunter walks in and goes, you are important, Lois. More important than anything. It's like, how do you know? Like, why does everybody know that she's important?
The thing I did find hilarious, I will come back to the Lois one, but with the Manhunter is obviously Batman versus Superman is this whole thing where Batman is like, okay, well, look, if this guy's a god, we need to make sure that he's not evil, because if he is evil, by the looks of it, he can kill all. This guy now turns up at the end of the film and goes, I'm Martian Manhunter. And that doesn't strike fear into Batman's. Hang on, what, Hunter?
Off, like, wait, I'm a man.
Yeah, like he just goes. Okay, he's a bit groggy. He's like, all right, okay, yeah, see you later. Go,
Also, but, why would he not just be like, my name's John Jones. That's my name. That's what he's called. Because
you know what? Even today, in this day and age, it always makes me laugh every time he says, my name is John Jones. And I'm like, so it's John Jones. Like, really? That's what we came... All right. I know we spell it differently, but it's just the name John Jones.
The Martha and Lois scene was pretty good in one aspect, because the one thing I did like they changed it is they had this conversation where it's Martha, ignoring the Manhunter says of it, it's Martha talking to Lois about the shared grief of the person they both loved. It's their unity there.
But then they kicked that in the nuts and it didn't mean anything.
They do.
After.
They do. And that's what I said. I mean, like comparing it to the 2017 one, she just turns up at the Daily Bugle when she talks about the farm being down and blah blah blah, and it's all her. It's like, oh yeah, my farm's gone. Anyway, don't worry about it. See you later. And it's all brightly lit and it's in the Bugle. Dougal, and I did like that scene. And I thought, as I'm watching it, Planet. Sorry,
we both knew what you meant.
Yeah,
I knew what you meant, but like as a guy,
he's gonna show you
this
right
action figure above his desk. I can't just let that go.
Tyler's going, right, count to 7. If he doesn't correct himself, then I say it.
No, he did it twice, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, no. Always feel free to correct me. His
inner J. Jonah Jameson is gonna break out.
Everything
I need
together.
Photos of Superman.
But when I was watching that scene, it was a lot nicer. I liked the intimacy. I liked it being in the apartment. I liked the cinematography a lot more than what I did on the original. And that I was really enjoying it. And I found it doubly a kick in the teeth when because the Martian reveal happens. Because I'm like, oh, all right, it didn't give me shit.
I think basically the one scene that Zack Snyder has kind of got character interaction down between two characters having a human conversation that people have.
Like a human.
And then he's like, you know what? Hold my beer. I'm about to fuck this up. Just like, this is going down. But I just... The addition of the Martian Manhunter bit at the end just made me laugh. Because it's like, how to tell this was filmed in the thing is... After the events of thing, like, Batman was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop, rolling that tire. I'm going to stop hitting the punch bag as much. I'm just gonna be like lean pandemic Affleck. And just I lost all my weight after that fight. I really sweated in that suit during that end fight. Just muscle all gone.
He did look a lot more like those pictures that everyone's keep putting up of the paparazzi snapping him, picking up
literally
food off of his doorstep.
That would have been the best way to end it. Would be Martian Manhunter goes off and an Uber Eats guy knocks on the door on the other side.
I mean, listen, Martian Manhunter's already taken care of stuff. Why not have him be the guy delivering the food? And then he turns around to get something, turns back, it's a goddamn Martian Manhunter, and he's like, wait, do you always Uber Eats? Is this always you?
Again, it's just one of those things of just, I felt like we'll leave the epilogue jam, because that is the icing on the cake.
Last half hour.
That's going to be like where we end things at, because that's where the film refused to end things.
Okay, let's move on to Aquaman.
Oh yeah, Aquaman's in this.
Aquaman's in this movie.
Who just doesn't give a shit about litter, and he's smashing glass everywhere. He's throwing his worn sweaters everywhere. Protect the planet.
Where is he picking up the shirts?
Yeah,
he never leaves with a shirt.
Well, I will put it this way, because one of my first things I hate in a movie, whenever I watch it, just in any movie in general, is there's a sequence that as soon as I say it, you're gonna know, like, as having ever been on set. Is Batman walks into the town that Aquaman is in, and all the villagers line the path to the pub. Why are you guys standing outside? And they're like all standing perfectly still, staring at him. And it's like, why did you guys make a perfect path? Like, how do you know that's where he's going? How do you know anything?
The ones that line up obviously care enough to line up, and then as soon as he gets inside the bar, they all don't give a shit and drinking their drink. And it's like, right, okay, you've got two school of people here.
It was just like that thing of like they wanted the Clint Eastwood comes to town cowboy moment. The only downside of that is whenever Clint Eastwood comes to town, the person's sweeping and then they notice someone coming through. They're not like, I'm going to stop sweeping and stand here for 5 minutes while this guy walks down a hill.
What else do they got going on in that Icelandic town that for some reason is one of the towns he helps out?
Yeah, just the one. Oh, they've not had any fish for 9 months.
Well, the way he was leaving, I was like, oh, he is definitely giving them all their babies. This is a town that's unfortunately infertile, and just like Aquaman comes, knocks up every woman there, and that's like, this is a town of his children. Now that's all I can think of.
It's a town of creepiness as well, because that was one of the first points that someone mentioned, the sweater sniffing. Yeah. Whenever the sweater sniffing and singing sequence happened, I was just kind of like, why is this in this movie? Like, what? Why are we still like he's gone? Well, no, I'm not gonna
need lamentation music. Gary, every scene needs some sort of I don't know if you watched this movie with subtitles on, but it literally said like choral lamentation music, Icelandic lamentation music, like all of it. It's just all of it's lamentation. There's lamentation across the board.
The only thing I wanted from the end of it was because it did it like Aquaman walks into the water and they start singing and it cuts to Bruce and he's like, oh, I failed. And then it cuts back to the water and there's just a little pool and they're still singing and it cuts to them and then it cuts back to Bruce and he still looks, oh, I failed in my mission to do thing. And it cuts to them and it cuts to her sniffing the jump and it cuts back to Bruce and he's still, and I just wanted to tell him, will you shut up? I'm not happy right now.
I wanted to quietly put I put the tracker on the sweater. That's not gonna help at all.
Or if you're gonna double down on it, just have Bruce Wayne join in. Just have him start singing as well.
Like a Wellerman, but all the
I'm
Justice
down for
League.
a sing song. Let's do this thing.
Let me get the bat flute. Just like...
Soon will the Aquaman come to bring you vision.
We're gonna make the most epic TikTok. Jeremy Irons bookcasing that scene at the end was just fucking brilliant. Like, maybe
Jeremy Irons.
That's the one. The name of the people, Butler.
The
person.
other Gruber.
Just him. That line just absolutely had me in stitches. I have to admit, of the maybe a guy who broods in a cage shouldn't be doing recruitment.
It's not a bad point.
I did like some of the extra Alfred stuff. I thought that was fun that we got to see more of Irons as Alfred. And I like
him being very specific about tea was nice.
Getting more cups was
not
great.
Liking the way she was making tea. It was a very weird thing because I was like, well, she is like older than you. She probably knows how to make. Okay, you just keep doing you, Alfred. But then saying that, there was one scene that was in the trailer that everybody was like, "Oh my god, they cut this out." Whenever he told me you'd come, or whatever the line I made fun of so many times, because it sounded like it was from like the Brazzers porn parody of Justice League. But it was they put that scene in where Superman shows up because you must be Alfred, and I'm like, why are these two interacting? Like the end of the world is happening. Why are you here? And someone went, oh, it's because he needed to find out where to go. And I'm like, he's Superman. He can hear the entire planet. He can see and fly and do all these things. Alfred is not the guy to go to for that information.
I just want to put this out here. The really easy porn version of Alfred Pennyworth's name is Alfred Poundsworth. So I want that.
The thing is
not Alfred Penisworth, no?
No, Poundsworth, because it's penny to pound, you know.
Okay, no, I get you. Yeah, get some metrics in there.
I'm a classy gentleman. I go full double entendre.
Yeah,
my Iron Man glass.
You are working in the classy end of the porn industry.
I do really want now. I know obviously they in mainstream they don't have too much of a crossover, but I really want just like an old school buddy cop film with Alfred and Commissioner Gordon going on an adventure somewhere. Just them two.
I'd watch that.
I mean, at least we found out exactly why J.K. Simmons got so buff for his part as Commissioner Gordon, because he had to hold that pile of messages to the trash can.
Big pile.
That switch on that light it's really stiff if you just don't,
I also loved the setup of the I'll talk to him tonight. How do you think? And it's like, why are you guys asking stupid questions? There's a giant symbol been on the roof for like 20 years.
Yeah, it would be like, how? Get your head out of your ass. What do you think we do here?
How do we normally call him? I'm going to FedEx him an envelope and see if he responds.
I'm going to poke him on Facebook. See if...
The thing I saw quite a few people taking the piss out of, and I was thinking it when I was watching it because it was just absolutely hilarious, is what happened with the boxes. You've got the Amazonian creating this massive temple with at the center, obviously, the structural integrity important to it, so if anything goes wrong they can just sink it into the sea. Brilliant. You've got the Atlanteans doing this similar thing, already sunk. I don't know, I never actually I got the vibe that they were saying that one of the reasons the Atlanteans went into the sea was because of this mother box. I don't know if that was just me maybe reading into it a little bit more.
I don't think that was I think the Atlantean side, because like Ocean Master being the king at the time,
I like this thing.
He didn't see the mother boxes even being an item. I think it's like he was pulling guards off and stuff, and they're like, no, it's cracking. He's like, it's an old box we keep in a room. We have so many goddamn ancient relics to think about. I don't give a shit about the box that's done nothing for 3,000 years.
Can I also then say we have the thing of the screen breaking the boxes. That was one confusing thing. Is like, okay, Mira is for some odd reason guarding the box in a room. Like, why is she here other than to go, hey, look, it's Mira. It's like she just happens to be here as this Echo cracks this box that we lock up.
It would have made sense for Willem Dafoe to be in there because what else is he doing? But like,
well, that's what I like because obviously that scene was nice, trying to put him in there and trying to bargain Aquaman back into it, and it's like, well, yeah, have him there guarding the box and noticing things are off. But yeah, I love saying about the boxes, and then the box that went to men, we'll just dig your hole. We'll take it to the woods. It was like it was some kind of like 1990s fucking porn collection that was found in the forest.
And then one of the guys like has kind of like the Boromir glance at one of the other ones, like, oh, as soon as they leave, we're taking this up, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then fucking Cyborg puts it in a slightly less shallow hole. It's like, it just...
Yeah, he kind of puts it in his own grave for like, which made me laugh immensely.
Which he does that for like I guess like half of an evening, and then he's like, I gotta get that box
Well, no,
back.
the funniest part of that whole thing is how badly it's shot, because he walks along with a duffel bag, and he brings the duffel bag to the grave, and he opens the duffel bag to show the audience, here's the box. And then he puts it in the grave. Like, you know what's in the bag. You put it there. Why? And you're putting the bag and the box in the grave. Why did you open it up? Like, oh yeah, it's still in there. I definitely thought it was because I've been carrying it this entire time.
Shit, I left it on the bus. Fuck.
Like, there's literally no reason for you to look at this other than to go to the audience. He's burying the mother box. Look at him burying the mother box. He hasn't zipped the bag back up. He's just put it down with the bag open and starts burying it. Like, it was just And again, it was kind of those scenes that, you know, obviously, yes, they were cut out of the other one to kind of give him something. But as you say, like, the next time he shows up, he's like, oh, yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Like, Zack Snyder would make the worst magician ever, because he'd just be like, hat's coming off, rabbit's coming out of it. All right, here we go, rabbit. Everyone, there's going to be a rabbit. Here it is, rabbit back in the hat. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Also, I'm Martian Manhunter.
Which is
meet me outside of the lobby where I talk about the rabbit for 15 minutes after it's finished.
That's the next cut where every single character gets revealed to be the Martian Manhunter. Even Bruce talking to himself. Bruce turns into the Martian Manhunter after he flies off.
When she transformed, I out loud to a room full of no one, because again I'm alone here in my apartment every day, said, "But why?" Like, what is this? Okay.
I did like the inclusion of a lot of I mean, this can be said about most of the action sequences. I think the action sequences, although they were in places a bit messy, were slightly better shot. And if we take like Steppenwolf first appearing on Themyscira,
the Amazonians seemed way less shitty in this one.
They seemed less shitty. He also seemed more powerful, which was kind of a nice knock on from that. Like, he was he's throwing fucking horses around just for fun.
Which is, again, I will take that as a preface that everyone's power set in this movie shifts radically from scene to scene. Of like, take like his power of like what he can do shifts dramatically depending on who he's fighting. Yeah. And like Wonder Woman's is insane and all over the place. With her.
For a movie that like wants to show you every single thing about every phrase anyone says, Flash keeps bringing up that, like, now I try to never do this about, like, breaking these people. I'm like, what did you do where you had to make a rule for the bullshit? Like I want to see the scene, like, or, like, you could have used that for the scene where he was saving the car thing, where, like, he saves the girl, but he did it, like, at the speed of light to rewind time a bit, and the truck goddamn exploded, and that guy died. Where he's like, oh, shit, like, I never do this, because, like, it's, like, changing time still messes other stuff up.
Maybe would have been a more interesting way to open the movie, would have been, instead of it being here's 4 minutes of Superman screaming and his echoes reverberating on a two-dimensional plane but above and below the ocean, would have been to like use that to do the introductions for what if you had unusually started the movie with some of the Cyborg stuff of him as a human. So you come into the movie going, what the shit is this? Like, there's a football game? And, this...
Well, here's a better suggestion. What if Superman, to start the movie, just landed, and then like a kid was talking to him through his cell phone, and he talked about like the S on his chest, how it was like a river that flowed, but the whole time looked like his face was a Snapchat filter.
You know what though?
I think that'd be a better start. I'm just saying, if I had control, that's what I would do with it.
You've got to feel bad for the VFX artists. They had to get rid of that scene. It's like, you worked so hard to make that look so shit.
But I will say, although I don't like that scene, I do feel like that did have a missing ingredient that makes no sense in Justice League, which is the world mourning the loss of Superman, because at no point have we ever seen Superman, as in, like, the hero of the world. We've seen the guy who saved Metropolis and then who fought Batman.
Saved Metropolis.
Yeah, but then, like, Batman v Superman, he doesn't, he goes to save Lois in the desert, and he saves himself from being killed by Lex and then they fight Doomsday or whatever on an island.
There's a couple of other scenes, isn't there?
Since the first movie had so much death of like side people, an island that they had to very clearly, like, everyone has gone home for the day, and the island is evacuated. There are no
why are
bystanders
people
on
in
this
London hanging things from Tower Bridge of like a black and silver, oh god, Superman is dead thing?
So, Gary, I don't know if you know this about people from England, but if you just tell them that someone's important because they were born important, they'll believe that lie for thousands of years.
And I mean, he'd only been Superman for a year, so like, or so we like basically probably less than a year by Batman v Superman. So
and, like, his introduction was him and other Kryptonians destroying a city, and from the point of view of the city, it's really hard to tell the difference between him and Zod, because you don't know who either of these jackasses are.
And the second movie is like court cases that he should be held accountable for these things, and then he dies.
Yeah.
Before there's really a resolution to the court thing, because the court people got blown up. So.
But when he comes back, he does walk through a room out of different toy costumes he could be wearing, and decides on the black one with zero motivation or meaning behind it.
What if that 70 million you got paid to like reshoot some new stuff, instead of getting back a terrible actor and putting in some clown makeup, you went, let's get Henry Cavill or something for a thing, and open the movie with Superman doing something Superman-ish, and then after he saves the day, boom, there's the freeze frame of him doing a thing on a picture, and it pulls out from a newspaper thing that's stuck to that memorial or by it, and it fades out as Superman dead as the headline on the Daily Planet thing, or Lois just, sad at that memorial with her engagement thing ring, being sad. So you go, oh look, remember Superman was Superman. We never saw it in the other movies, but he did heroic shit at some point that the world should care.
I want to circle back to the black costume too, because like, I don't know if you guys read the Death of Superman storyline books.
I didn't. Because I don't know if you saw, like, on Facebook. Obviously, people here some of them will know, other ones might not. I wrote a big long thing about like my pros and cons and things that didn't change with the thing, and the black suit came up because I know as a comic book thing it's important. In a film thing, I don't know why he takes a black suit, because it's not earned.
In the comic books, it's so specifically important because he comes back, but he doesn't have all of his powers because he spent so much time away from the sun and whatnot, and died, and kind of like drained his whole battery. So the suit was supposed to be to help him absorb solar energy, as they literally yeet him into the sun. Like, they had to do that level. So like, it would have made sense if he was like, he came back, but like wasn't as powerful and was trying to figure it out, and then like all you needed was the voice of his dad to be like, this suit will help you absorb the energy of Earth's yellow sun and bring you back to your powers, and had that nice moment of him like floating above the Earth. It could have given us a moment for him to do a Christ pose, and Zack Snyder would have just been rock hard for a solid week. Just like,
well, because my suggestion, like chatting with it about someone, was just from a filming. It was, okay, you get a black suit, you could come up with some reason. Even the AI on the ship could tell you the information of why it's black, and you could have him start fighting Steppenwolf, and you just have a thing where the start of the fight, he isn't as good against Steppenwolf because he's, not fully juiced up. So Steppenwolf doing the thing he does, like Wonder Woman, is taunts him a little bit. And, somehow whenever the sunlight starts breaking through or whatever, but you have a moment where Superman stops a punch or the axe or whatever with his hand.
No, and that's the point. Shows up full power.
And because it's Kryptonian tech, you have the suit start to change back into the blue and red as he, rises up, lifting, imagine it like the not one to use Marvel, but the shot in Infinity War where Cap's holding the gauntlet.
Yeah.
But imagine if Cap actually managed to push the thing the whole way back up and stand on his feet and overpower him. But you have that, but with the suit transitioning the whole way back to full Superman colors. Because it just seemed weird. He walks past his normal suit and is like, okay, no, I don't want that. Oh, look at this black number.
What's up, new hotness? Come here for it.
Do you bleed? You will. Just like that's
because this is cutting edge fashion.
But yeah, it was one of those things of I feel like if you're gonna put something like that in a superhero movie like this, like,
well, you need him to be in the dark suit so he can be the bad guy in the next one.
It was unearned in this.
Which is weird because at the end he's back in the color.
Really wants him to be the bad guy.
But yeah, he's unearned in this, and that's the thing. As you say, when he's the bad guy in the epilogue, which again we'll come to, he's back in the normal suit. So I don't know. I feel
because
like
that's the real villain suit.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing. If you needed to give anybody the black suit as a payoff, give it in the epilogue. Just as you say, get him come back into the final fight as normal looking Superman, and then you go, well, we need to show him evil. Well, what's more black and evil than black suit? Oh, dark, yes.
It was just one of those things of where, from a comic book perspective, I remember whenever the pictures came out of just Henry Cavill in the corridor of the spaceship with the black suit, and every fanboy of the Snyder Cut was just like, oh my god, they've made it. The film is going to be perfect because the black suit's in it. And I kind of sat there and went, it has a black suit, but why?
Because Gary, there's not one bad superhero film where they get a black suit and then the rest of the movie's trash. Spider-Man 3, for instance, he gets this lovely black suit. Rest of the movie, gold. How's the pie? So good.
Did you want to see him dancing down Metropolis to some really cringy jazz music?
As long as it was Norse, Icelandic music, I'd be there.
Laminating music as he's doing.
$29.99 on top of subscription, like the Disney Plus model, just for a.
What if, just to add, if we're going to really delve into these musical numbers while we're looking at pools of water, after, Flash, they put the body in the water and Flash is about to do his run up and do his like supercharged Superman thing. If Batman turned around and just went, guys, this is an Icelandic riff in B, watch me for the changes and try to keep up, and just started singing just the Icelandic song.
You all know this one,
he goes
surely.
To Wonder Woman and says, find me some shade, hot legs, an actual line from Spider-Man 3. And
what was the yes, someone put in the chat the other thing, which it's impossible to forget because it's in the movie like 5 times. Every time Wonder Woman shows up and it plays that
Lamentations.
Like thing, like every time she shows up and beats 2 parademons off the roof of the Batmobile, and it just goes, I was like, this is an action moment. Why am I not getting action music?
I legit saw someone say, oh yeah, but Snyder's made her theme now much more tribal, much more like, and it's like, did you not hear the ones before? It was giant fucking drums drumming along in every
The problem with the Junkie XL version of it is that you can hear the Zimmer in the thing. And Zimmer, like Hans, Nick's heard the story of whenever I worked on the TV show with him and his bat signal to the sky, which I still don't know what that music cue is, but he was talking about it very proudly. But he is all about, like, we had to keep getting him to take out these, like, orchestra hits and stuff that he'd put into stuff. And that Wonder Woman theme is just like, it seems like that was just every person that ever went, no, we don't want the orchestra hits. He just went, well, I'm going to put them all in this one song. And then like Junkie was like, yeah, we just strip those back a little bit. It's like, no, her song is the most powerful thing in the movie, which is, I think, a shame a little bit. As much as like Danny Elfman's score for the studio cut isn't spectacular. The one thing I will give him, even though it was rehashing a thing, was I do miss Superman having a theme and Batman having a theme. Like characters having actual themes. And it did make sense what he did where he was like, well, we're going to use the John Williams Superman theme a little bit because it's iconic. And his comparison was it's like doing Jaws and not using the Jaws theme when the shark shows up. and which makes sense. And the Batman Danny Elfman theme always a soft spot for that kind of gothic.
Say, this is just because we were talking about the Wonder Woman scene, and I was thinking about her putting in every cheat code for one scene and punching everyone around, which doesn't really it's not a skill she uses later. But I just wanted it when she kneels down to that little girl, be like, "Are you okay, princess?" I just wanted the girl to be like, "You just punched a dude in fucking half." I watched you commit 10 murders in the last.
I just watched you vaporize a human being.
I really fucking hated the fact that she felt the need to explode the Old Bailey, the actual half of the building. It's like, you've just shown me, because you put a clock on screen, you've just shown me in 12 seconds that she took out 10 other guys.
And let's not forget, when she came in, she watched the clock tick down by 5 seconds before she did anything.
See, here's a pet thing that I absolutely hate. As soon as a movie shows me there's a ticking clock, I start counting it in my head. And it's like, right, because you've given me a ticking clock. Like, if there's 5 minutes or whatever, it's like, okay, it's loose. But this one's 20 seconds. And I'm like, okay, right, 1, 2. And she does all that. And then the guy's reloading for about 6 seconds, and she just stands there. And then she goes, all right, well, I've managed to kill these other 9. I've managed to protect all these people. I've managed to protect most of the building, apart from maybe that door I broke on the way in, but that's all right. So I've only got this one guy left. Let's just blow a fucking hole in the wall. It was infuriating.
If in D&D terms, I did see someone just put murder hobo in it, but yeah, it's like breaks into the building. It's like, all right, what's your first order of business? I roll to commit atrocities.
Well,
slow motion.
Also, there was I think I sent it to a couple people, the editorial thing. I think I may have sent you one as well, with my Flash cutscene, where I was like, this scene is just longer for the sake of being longer because it adds something. As soon as she grabs the bomb and jumps up, you're like, okay, she's going to throw it up into the sky, it's going to explode. We've seen this 900 times, but now you're going to see it 901 times, but in super slow-mo, because she would throw it, and we'll go into slow-mo, and then we'll cut to another shot where it's still flying up in slow-mo, and then we'll cut to another shot where it's coming at the camera in slow-mo, and then we'll cut to a wide shot where it's still going up in the air in slow, and then it explodes, and it's like, oh, what a not shocking thing to have happened.
It would have been way more badass for her to just grab it, throw it straight up, and just stare at the guy. It's yeah.
In fact, you know what would have been more badass than that is, like you said, if she'd just thrown it up through the roof and you just heard the boom and then just the roof shake and the dust fall down as she just stares him down, would have been a way more badass moment.
Also, and I'm just going to put this out there, bombs detonated at low atmosphere are intensely more awful than a bomb that would have been detonated on the ground.
I just really wanted an air ambulance to be flying past casually at the time and be caught in the crossfire.
But to the fact that an atomic bomb doesn't hit the ground and explode, it actually explodes. So if you have a bomb capable of taking out 4 city blocks and you only throw it a block above you, you're probably now taking out 7 city blocks.
Or so
not to argue physics in the movie where she then blocks a bunch of bullets with her arms, but just saying, that's not the best plan.
Well, they set up one thing again, right at the start of her going in, was the lasso obviously making you tell the truth, compelling you to tell the truth as a thing. I'm like, wouldn't it have been a more interesting thing, just fundamentally in the film, for her to have, saved the day a little bit, got the last guy, still had time on the clock. Don't give me the ticking clock thing because it's just stupid. Have him wired up as a dead man's and just go, give me the code. And then just put the thing around him, just, tell me the code. And he just goes, 57234. She just turns it off, and that's it as a thing, because these guys are just they are cannon fodder to someone like her. But yeah, the other weird part of that super speed is there's the scene later on where they're in the Stryker Island or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah. Where they're underneath and they're like, oh, heat signatures are up there, and it cuts to them walking up the stairs like they're the Ghostbusters at the end of Ghostbusters with proton packs on their backs, no hustle. I'm like, you have a super speedster, a cyborg with jets, her who we've seen run fast as Superman or the Flash apparently, and Batman. One of you can just carry Batman, and you guys will be there in no time.
Has anyone forgot all the Mirage, all the goddamn zip lines that he has carrying around with him? It's yeah, right, okay, he doesn't have the super speed or flight, but I'm pretty sure he could just do a grapple to the top of these stairs. That was one of the sequences I think I do actually. There's a lot in that sequence, obviously, to unpack, but there's one thing I've really, really liked in the 2017 one, which was Bruce giving the talk to Barry. because Barry's like, I haven't fought before. Like, I'm fast, but I've not really been in a conflict before. And they removed it from this one and replaced it with that fucking staircase scene. And it's just like, and then I loved him protecting the prisoners at the top when the thing exploded, and he protected them from all the debris. But him just like mocking them walking up the stairs was like, all right, okay.
Like, why is I did that one? There was a moment that I thought was actually something that added to Barry, because Barry is, you know, he's just a kid, so he is the Spider-Man of this thing here, and you need the Tony Stark, like, you can be a hero type moment.
Well, and it also gave
him.
Batman a leadership moment where actually showed, like, his value. It was like, oh no, like, he's been doing this for 20 years. He knows, like, he's been in a situation where there's a room full of hostages and someone about to murder them. Like, he knows what to do with this. Like, and
it was just the idea of just push someone as well. Is like, kind of like, you don't have to be good at fighting. Just, you know, just save people and just, you know, do whatever essentially you can to, like, do it. It was very. There are certain things I think in the studio cut that actually did have, like, there was, you know, saying Aquaman earlier on. I did enjoy the lasso scene in the 2017 version where he starts spat, we're all gonna die, you know, like, because there's this kid who doesn't know what he's doing, this guy who has no powers, this guy who could be working for the enemy, and, you know, and her, I know we had a war with the Amazon, and just keeps jabbering on, and he's like, you know, I haven't really lived, you know, there's so much I want to see on the land, and oh shit, I'm sitting on this thing, and I'm like, it's a great moment of kind of levity, like to like lift, we're about to go to grim death.
Well, and it's not a movie that's not, like, without levity. I enjoyed the scene where Alfred was showing that he made Wonder Woman gauntlets for Batman. And Wonder Woman standing there like, yeah, so original. Hey, maybe make him a lasso next time in black. like, just like that, like, he still wants, like, to have some, but he just wanted to cut out any joke that wasn't his joke.
Well, yeah. Whenever they did the trailer for the old...
If you want to screw over a monster asshole guy, that's fine. But, like, that was a fine joke.
One of the things that they brought back was the Alfred Superman scene. And whenever that was in the previous trailer and was cut out, because it never explained in the 2017 one where Superman gets his new suit from, I always thought, oh, maybe he gets it from Alfred. Alfred's like, oh, well, we stored this after you died.
Yeah.
And now it's black because I only know how to make shit in black.
That would have been a really neat
Alfred's
scene.
actually colorblind, so he just goes safe colors.
Yeah, but, like, that would have actually been interesting. Yeah, like, if it's like, oh yeah, like, we could make you a new suit. All I've got is Batman cape material.
The 3D printer's just loads of just black filament. That's all I've got.
You know, I patched it up as best I could, but really, or, you know, the suit goes, but I couldn't really, like, I can't dye it or anything. The color seemed to, like, just any... Yeah.
Your options are black and yellow or red, green, and yellow. But if you wear those colors, it is gonna bum Bruce out when you show up.
But, like, it's kind of one of those things, like, that would have given Alfred, like, some reason to talk to Superman in some capacity, and would have given him a fun moment with, you know, like, each character of, like, hey, I'm useful. I'm trying to get this thing to fly. I'm a mechanic. I can make tea. I can judge you making tea.
I saying about the lasso scene, I think that was good because that also then created a bit of tension between them, and I thought that was something that was kind of missing a little bit when Clark's finally brought back to life and Cyborg's arm, his self-defense is going off, because I liked that in the 2017 one where Aquaman gives Cyborg shit for it, and it's like, we wouldn't be fighting him if your defense system didn't decide to arm itself. Again, I mean, they kind of kept it similar, but
You mean a system that never really activates again?
Yeah, it's weird. It's the only time he loses control of his body in the entire film. So
and, like, his body doesn't do any defensive things when he's about to watch his father die.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
Miles Dyson, always with the button.
It was so annoying when he had to die.
He's just in there like, we have to stop Cyberdyne. What? I've been on green screen for 2 years. I don't know what this movie is anymore.
Hyperventilated away.
But, nice.
I honestly...
And it's to stop or help a robot. It's always the same deal.
Yeah. I honestly didn't get why he had to die. I was watching it, and, like, from a filmmaking point, it's like, okay, right, we need Cyborg to be grr and angry because now he's lost his last parent. But it's like, why did he need to be in that box?
Cyborg just plumb out of parents.
Well, because obviously when you're watching it, it's framed as if Dyson thinks that the X-ray will destroy the box, but we obviously clearly know it won't.
No, I think he was doing it intentionally to superheat it. To like.
Yeah,
well, no,
said,
but
like,
sorry, but
to turn it into a tracking device for the super weapon that you should just be able
Which
to.
also that Steppenwolf could just pick up without noticing any heat change with it whatsoever.
yeah, that was
And
quite weird.
it's hot enough to melt a piece of like radioactive steel, but not to track in any other way.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thought.
Mother boxes can't melt steel beams. Is what I'm saying.
It's a conspiracy theory, bro.
Well,
but he did not need to die. He didn't need to be in that glass.
I thought there was going to be a payoff from it. I don't know if I was the only one, but you watch him. He turns on the machine, and it zaps the box, and he kind of gets hit by. He gets tronned. It looked like.
Yeah.
And gets broken down to the thing.
Yeah,
and
Dr.
I thought,
Manhattan.
oh, when he links with the mother box, he's going to see his dad inside of it. And then he was getting taunted by that family. I was like, okay, real Miles Dyson is going to show up in a second and tell him how much he loves him and how proud of him he is and how, he's there to change the world or something. And I'm like, no, but instead he's going to play that as an audio recording later on, I guess. But I was like, that, I thought that was going to...
the atom, so maybe they, could have made it a shrink ray.
It just kind of was one of those, lost moments of, oh, you could have given Victor closure with, one of his parents here as a thing, where his dad goes, don't believe thing that's we both lost all that life, that doesn't come back. What you have to do is what you do now. And he, his real dad talks to him from inside the box to explain to him what to do. So there is actually some payoff to his dad dying in a way, and he gets to have some closure with that. A bit more than
Doom Patrol, who just does Cyborg better.
Yeah.
Had him almost beat his dad to death, and then he had to live with that. So
it just is one of those things of where I was like, this scene, yes, his dad dies, but I was like, his dad could have just got cut through with an axe, and really they could have just come up with a 2-second line of, okay, well now he's got all 3 boxes, they're going to give off that much energy that we can track it with the satellite. I'm Bruce Wayne, I have satellites.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the same. When he was inside that box, I couldn't figure out why. And plus, I would have liked it a little bit more if Steppenwolf killed him, specifically, rather than him doing it by his own free will. Like, if he was operating the computer terminal that did the laser, Steppenwolf comes along, as you say, axe to the back or whatever. Bit more character motivation towards actually hating Steppenwolf if, Cyborg sees it happen because he was just a little bit too late. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, as you say, as Redwood says, his defense system doesn't kick in.
So we're on our last half hour here. Do we want to talk about the half-hour epilogue for that whole?
Well, yeah, because I feel like we've talked about everything that happens before the finale, and I don't really have much to say on the finale other than I quite like the final battle. Now it's a lot.
The final battle works
better to watch.
It's better as a night shoot. It's better without the little jokey jokes. It's better where they actually defeat the villain by kicking his ass. It's just
they actually work as a team.
The one thing maybe I'll upload somewhere, because obviously I made my joke edit of the thing, but for shits and giggles, I took the Age of Ultron moment of them all flying through the air, teamed up as a team.
Did do that little
that freeze frame, and what I did was I timed that with the Junkie XL cover of Come Together as a thing, so that it kicks in just as it hit the freeze frame. That song matches everything afterwards perfectly.
Amazing.
There's probably was an official cut with it somewhere else.
Yeah, I will say the soundtrack to this movie I think was not great. That is something I can't. It was not memorable in any way, shape, or form, and the music choices early on just trying to force you to have an emotional thing.
Well, fucking Nick Cave in the bad season. We'll just put it. It didn't feel again.
No, but
I think I hate to kind of do the Marvel comparison because I do dislike tribalism when it comes to entertainment and stuff like that. But you look at what James Gunn did with the songs. They were tied in. They were emotional. They were character specific. They served a purpose.
But some of them were, I guess, clever choices in that as well. As to I'll pick this song because this isn't here's a super sad heartstring song, as you put it that way, but we'll make it that because in this it was this is a song that's meant to invoke this emotion, and it kind of just felt like it's because the performance and the way the scene is filmed isn't giving you that. So this song is going to tell you you're meant to be sad now.
Sorry, your wife's dead. Your son's not going to make it. Oh, let's play some Nick Cave somewhere. I've got some cranberries somewhere.
But yes, don't worry, Wiz. We're getting to the to the meat and potatoes of the film ends. with them standing on. For me, the film
Does the
ends
film
with them
ever really
standing
end?
on top of a nuclear reactor, staring out. No one with any radiation poisoning because all the radiation's been taken away by the boxes, and didn't get redissipated when the boxes were destroyed, or anything. But like they're standing there looking heroic, and the camera moves across all of them, and then end credits. But no. Now presented with the new term epilogue, which is no longer a short paragraph that wraps up what happens, but instead 20 minutes.
I paused it when that came up, and I'm like, epilogue. No, there's still a lot of movie left.
Yeah.
So I keep calling it the Epilogue, because it's epically long. So we get like these wrap-up moments for every... And in some cases, I feel like we get 2 wrap-ups for some characters.
Well, no, it gets a wrap-up and then unwrapped.
I like this
It's like,
thing.
all right, we're all done here. Also, here's this whole other storyline that I'm going to just plop right here with no setup, worth, or payoff.
It actually is, just when the film should be wrapping down, it sets up for something else. Like, why?
Well,
Save that for the next film.
See, it hit Epilogue, and I felt like what this should be is the deleted scenes folder on the Blu-ray disc. Is what everything that's in the Epilogue should just be that. Is just the deleted, because none of it really. Yeah, it kind of resolves some stuff that's in the movie, but you don't need it. Like you could have easily cut out the I lost the farm line, and not have to show them going Bruce bought the bank. Bruce bought the bank that owns the farm. Like that doesn't really add anything to the overall thing. They're all a team now. I don't need to see these two. That doesn't add anything. There's Cyborg's closure with his dad. He kind of seemed to have that already, so I don't know, him magically rebuilding a tape player.
In the same way that like Lois and Martha never had a conversation of like, oh, it was so nice when you came and visited me in Metropolis, and Martha being like, wait, what? But like at the same time, I'd say right after Bruce has his flash forward dream, which obviously we're going to talk about, but at the end of that, he could have like called up Aquaman and been like, hey, is there like a redheaded woman that would be very mad if you died?
That was
yeah, why? He's like, because I've never met her, and I just saw her in a dream, so we have to work on that.
that was one of my first, like, I kept writing that. Everything is like in capital letters. They have never met. How is he dreaming about a woman that he doesn't know? Also, we're just going to mention it very briefly. Amber Heard is a terrible actress in this movie. Her accent is abysmal. And that is all I will say on that matter.
So as far as I get it with the epilogue, because honestly, I think I was pretty much exhausted from watching the film by this point, because I, like you guys, just watched it all mostly in one stint.
I watched it in 3 sittings because I just couldn't handle it after a while.
So I'm sitting here going, right, okay, it's like you guys have done really well with this quite epic fight sequence at the end. As I say, there's a lot of good stuff going on that. And honestly, I felt a lot more like this would have been great in a cinema. I would have been a little bit more pumped. But then obviously by then, my adrenaline's running out. And now you're telling me to expect 30 more minutes of fucking film. So I was a little bit brain frazzled by it. But so as far as I get it, basically, the epilogue of the nightmare sequence is that somewhere down the line, we're presuming that Clark gets into the Batcave because that's where he's holding the skeleton, and we don't know who the skeleton is, but it's probably a safe guess to say it's Lois, and that's what the whole Lois was the key thing. And the talk between Bats and Joker is that Joker killed Lois, so he's the only reason why they're keeping him around, because future Joker is the only way he convinced past Joker to not kill Lois, and that's what they're attempting. Have I got that right?
No, because it's all a dream, so none of it is real. So none of it matters.
But okay, so obviously, none of it matters. But that sequence itself, that's what they were attempting to go for, right?
I don't know what because Joker kind of just says, you can't kill me because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but you don't need... If you know that Joker kills Lois, then you don't have to keep future Joker alive at all. It just seemed like a really... clickbaity scene, if that's a term I could use. What would people want to see if I did a reshoot? Oh, Batman and Joker, because they never got together in a movie, and people would want to see that. And it just kind of seemed to be that they were trying to like make it. It didn't seem like there was an overall plan of a thing. It's like, what could they be fighting? Evil Superman. Yeah, because people like when Superman
mad libs to that whole scene, where it's just like, all of it was trash. I hated that. I hated that flash forward thing with every fiber of my being.
It was
Again,
just
if you enjoyed this film, I'm happy and I'm glad that you had a thing you liked, and I can't take that from you. But I can say, from my point of view, that was one of the worst scenes in a comic book movie.
Yeah, I was just trying to get what they were trying to go for, like, because I couldn't think like what the Joker offers that he needed to be kept alive. I'm like, you're clearly an arsehole. You clearly, obviously, you just said you killed Robin. Like, why Batman hasn't killed you?
Just so that you could have edgy Batman drop an F-bomb and say he was going to kill him slowly as a thing, because, you know, we all love edgy Batman as a thing.
Yeah,
just
if they're doing maybe the Kingdom Come storyline, in the Kingdom Come storyline, like, Joker kills everyone in the Daily Bugle, and that includes Lois. And then Superman kills Joker. Oh no, not Superman. Like one of the new superheroes kills Joker, and then they have like a whole. That's like kind of what disillusions everyone as being superheroes. Spoilers for a comic book that's like 20 years old. But like, yeah, again, like there's no reason for Joker to be alive. There's no. If it's the full-on post-apocalypse, and you already said, like, I intend to kill you, then do it right now. Do it right here on the goddamn hood of this car.
I mean,
that was, I couldn't work out what the bargaining chip was.
Like, because it was just, apparently, I think Redwood may have told me this from somewhere. He saw an article maybe, or it might have been Buzzword, that the Leto stuff was improvised. That they just let him say whatever he wanted to say. During that whole sequence.
He also wasn't directed because he went through like 4 different Joker voices during that. So
we're best friends.
Oh my god, I dislike him.
He
so much.
is because he was one of those things. I remember we did whenever the Suicide Squad came out, we were going to see it. We used to do a thing whenever we were in LA. We'd stick GoPros in the car. And it was the drive-by movies, we called it, and we would talk about the movie we were going to see before, stop the cameras, watch the movie, not say a word to each other, get back in the car, turn the cameras on, and then be like, okay, let's talk about it. And I remember, because we were driving along, and Nick was like, I'm really excited. I remember this clear as day, because we were like, he's like, I'm really excited about Leto, because obviously like Fight Club and this and that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in one of those things. Yeah, maybe this is going to be, maybe he'll be really cool. Like, he's probably going to be one of the standout things. And then we walked out the movie, and the first line, I think, out of Nick's mouth was like, Leto was awful. He's the worst.
Honestly, I mean, if you look at some of his older work where he is secondary characters or, assistant characters or anything like that, Wolf of Wall Street, or as you say, loads of films, he's actually pretty good as a side character. So I was like, oh, actually, maybe he might be good as a main character with some real beef to get. After watching that and fucking Blade Runner, and then obviously he's just gone further and further down a rabbit's hole.
I just want to keep rewatching American Psycho so I can see Batman hit him in the face with a goddamn axe.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's maybe because some of those films that we say like he was really good in are from directors who are famously like, I don't take notes from you, you take notes from me. Like,
I am the director.
Like Fincher or whatnot, like they have a very clear, this is how this plays in a scene, or like your Scorsese or anybody like that are very much.
I was gonna say, could you imagine the backlash if Jared tried putting fucking rats in co-workers' bags as he did on Wolf of Wall Street? He would have had none of that shit.
Him and Will Smith with the he left a used condom somewhere, as I'm like just posted it to him as a thing, because I was trying to get in character.
It's like, that's not a thing Joker does. That's not.
But I mean,
characters. So you
Blood Spider mentions the word that was obviously like, yes, the proof that it was all like kind of a clickbait thing was that we live in a society, isn't there? Batman. Batman.
Also, like, what was with that photo shoot that came out beforehand of him like in a crown of thorns and shit? Like that was never in this.
Well, because you see what happened.
I think he did that on his own.
It's all Snyder's. What really happened is what you've discovered is that this is a biblical thing now. Is that Jesus, he died, and he came back from the dead, and then he turned to evil, and then Judas becomes the new Messiah in Joker. He is gonna save the world from Jesus, who has fallen and become. Well, I joke about this. Whenever I worked on the TV show called The Bible, I think it was one of the evangelical ones, because we wanted to do this as an end of TV show thing, which we would have got hated for doing it anyway. But there is apparently like a biblical thing where Jesus is death.
Oh, Jesus.
So he is the fourth horseman of the apocalypse in one of these scriptures. So he comes back to Earth to kill it. And I was like, maybe that's where Snyder is getting this from. Is that his idea? Is like, oh, well, I'll do that part of Jesus because no one's picking up on my subtle religious metaphors of this stained glass windows in the background and this.
I'm just gonna... Yeah, no, that whole... And then, you know, he wakes up from that dream and then Martian Manhunter comes down.
And does his Matrix flyby of the camera.
Martian
that was
Manhunter.
seriously. Can you do a quick edit with fucking Rage Against the Machine?
Just because I watched that as he's like, I'm going to show these people a world without boundaries, a world without you, and just flies past the camera. Because that was all I could think of when I watched that. I don't know. The other thing I could think is, why is this in this movie?
That was some CW. Like DC show level CGI on him.
It doesn't warrant too much of a conversation, but I physically massively actually laughed out loud at this. Was the massive build up to the plane, right? The massive
she
build
just
up
wants
every
to fly.
time. She just wants to fly. She just wants to fly. I can fix her. She just wants to fly. The first outing, Batman crashes her. The first thing.
She wanted to fly.
She wanted to fly. Yeah, like, all right, cool. She got 7 minutes of flight time. Great, good for her.
Well, you see, they're actually going to show this in one of the prequel movies. The flying ship used to be a droid that was a friend of Lando Calrissian. And they had to take the AI out of that droid, and now it's actually the navigation system for this ship.
I don't know if you caught
I think I got the universes correct here.
I don't know if you caught the subtlety in it, but actually the ship is Jesus.
Oh, okay.
No, the ship is Noah's Ark.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I just.
So anyways, what I was trying to say is 8 out of 10. Best movie. Love it so much.
One of the things I do want to say is if anybody talks about the 4:3 ratio and says it's what Snyder wanted all along, fuck off. Simple as that. Fuck off. Right. So here's the thing. The film was it was originally filmed in 35mm, which is a 3:2 ratio. And then it was projected up to 65. And he shot his extra stuff in, I believe, IMAX digital, which is actually something even wider than the thing. So if anyone turns around and says, oh, it's in 4:3 because that's what he's envisioned, that's never anything he envisioned. There's articles you can find where like him and the DOP were talking about, oh yeah, we settled on 35mm because we wanted the widescreen because at certain points we were going to have the 6 of them on screen. So we wanted it nice and wide to show it to them.
I like to think that right before this came out, he saw The Lighthouse. Like the movie
yeah,
The Lighthouse.
I honestly think...
Oh, that looks neat.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that was... Because there is... certain films where there are versions of, I think they did it with Rogue Nation or Fallout, but one of those they filmed obviously IMAX scenes for a couple of Mission Impossible films, and there is one of, I think it's the 4K Blu-ray, the bars come and go during those sequences. So they put those in so you could see, here's the IMAX part, now we're back to this part that was shot in normal film.
I mean, I think Dark Knight even really kind of had some of that.
The opening of Dark Knight was all shot in IMAX because that's the only reason they wear clown masks in that movie is because the things. If you can find any footage, we had one brought in at Discovery whenever I was working, and it sounds like 8 chainsaws in a box. The original IMAX cameras that they used on the Dark Knight, like just revved constantly, so you've got no audio you can hear. Yeah, because they put everyone in masks so you could just ADR everything and not worry.
They're the traditional ones. They're the actual like the 65mm, 70mm perforation ones.
Because it's like 70mm film, but it shoots on the like a different
weird
shit.
But they've also got the digital one, which is just it can be pretty much whatever you want now. I mean that's the way with digital. But yeah, because like if you actually watch it, there's so many badly framed shots. So many, and there's a few that you can just like. There's a few people who've done visual shots on YouTube as a comparison, and it's like there's
this much of Momoa's eye is definitely great in shot.
There's a scene on the Jesus plane that crashes, where it's slowly panning, and they're all turning to the next person as the camera pans along, and it just finishes with Barry kind of looking like this, and you just see like Wonder Woman's shoulder for like literally a good 20 seconds, and he's just like, it's the most cringy scene.
It is one of those things. I'm saying I imagine stuff like the light because there is a certain thing where there are people that have said they would love to release their IMAX format movies in IMAX format, and Chris Nolan, I think, was the first. It might have been Chris Nolan, it might have been Brad Bird, but because someone asked him because Ghost Protocol had a bunch of IMAX stuff in it, and he went, yeah, it would be great, but no one has the equipment to watch that unless you own an IMAX theater. So what would be the point? You're just losing out on the cinematic experience for the sake of more pixels at the top and bottom of your screen.
But you find me one single shot that wasn't a handful of the reshoots. So, like, for example, Superman screaming at the start, that is one that actually is framed nicely for a 4:3 ratio. You show me one single shot where there's just too much headroom or too much thing. Every other shot, it's just pull back. There's scenes where it's like, all right, this is emotional. We want to be pushing in on the character. We want to feel their face so we can feel it. Fucking Wonder Woman yelling Kal-El no with the most deadpan delivery I've ever seen in ages. But at least in the 2017 one,
really weird.
Yeah. But at least in the 2017 one, we're pushed in on her face, so we're feeling it a little bit more than oh shit, say it from back here.
Well, it should be noted that this whole thing was filmed so that he could just upload it 1 minute at a time to TikTok. Kind of got the more...
No, Vero, he uses a superior platform that no one else uses. That is the aesthetic choice, the 4:3. Now you said Lighthouse, does strike me as him going, oh, the Academy likes this format. Mm-hmm. Let's go with that, because then I'll get an Academy Award, because I think I've made something that is the same reason of going, okay, you've put title cards throughout this movie. Why? Why are these title cards here? They just, if anything, they give you a spoiler for what's about to come half the time.
Yep.
And they just kind of kill the pacing of, if you were releasing it episodically, I could probably get that. But if it's in one chunk, I love the fact they were like, oh, we didn't have time to do that. And I was like, I kind of sit here, assistant editor me, like going, yeah, you do. Like, we had to do this shit all the time whenever I worked on TV shows where they give you a note an hour before something was meant to be,
now that
like...
we've name-dropped it a few times, if you do want a good movie with an Aquaman character and a new Batman, Lighthouse.
that is a good point.
You got an Aquaman character, it's in the 4:3. You get to watch both of them.
As the vision intended.
But yeah, that's the title cards. I felt like
you're fond of my lobster, ain't she? It's great.
Oh god. But yeah, I think that probably was an inkling for why he did the 4:3 choice.
I find it frustrating because anybody who tries to defend it was like, oh, it's the reason why he's done it is people who talk about those have said, oh, it's his vision. Well, one, it wasn't, because as I say, 90% of the rest of the film is shot in 35mm and it's framed as such, and you can see that it's framed as such.
I mean, as a prime example, they released a trailer for Justice League whilst he was still the original director for it that is not in 4:3. So
yeah. Exactly. Well, there's whole articles about I can't remember the guy's name now, but the DOP was like, right, we had a chat, and like I hadn't shot on 35mm since I was, a poor original starting up filmmaker. Like I was nervous about shooting on 35mm. Blah 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 blah.
Which again, I will also point out, one of the biggest problems of why the visual effects in this movie don't look great is doing visual effects on film is really hard. And doing effects on digital material is really easy, because films, if you're trying to like motion track stuff, like if you shoot like on our cameras right now, if we don't move or anything, the camera won't move. Every pixel will be where it is. But on film, it does this whilst it goes through the gate. So every frame has like indistinct wobble to it, and the texture of film is really, really hard to replicate with CGI, especially in big green screen shots, which is why they always stand out in Zack Snyder movies, because it just doesn't work when you've got these big expanses.
When it got to the epilogue and that first parademon fall down on the car, I out loud said, "Oh, we ran out of budget." like the special effects budget. This is the HBO last. Like, okay, man, but this is it. This is all we got left. Like
the one that got me. The one that got me was I can't remember her name. The Amazonian leader riding the horse as if it's some kind of 1990s rom-com where she's doing the.
I mean, if we want to talk about the worst VFX shot in the entire movie, it's Lex Luthor in a pool. Where they just kind of drew a line and cut off his waist and just went, he's in a pool of water. Don't question this.
What have we done here? Oh, we just done a graduated fade. Okay, yeah, cool, right, sorted.
Which, again, is like one of those things of like, I clicked on a clip of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and just to watch, because I was like, oh, they showed the little hologram like thing on the Kryptonian ship of Steppenwolf, And the mother boxes. I don't know why that's in storage on a Kryptonian ship, because why does it know that Steppenwolf hangs out with mother boxes? Because we don't see him with any of them until, he shows up and finds the mother boxes again. But anyway, because he wasn't on the attack on Earth originally. But apparently knows about Amazonians, Atlanteans, Kryptonians, humans.
Green Lanterns.
Yeah, but doesn't know that's where the mother boxes were, even though that's a description of everything that happened in that fight. But, Lex Luthor's watching it, and then the SWAT team comes and catches Lex Luthor. And I was watching, I was like, okay, so basically all you needed to shoot was someone in a wig looking up at your hologram thing, and then cut to the front shot you'd already filmed for Batman v Superman, where he's already in a pool of murky, weird liquid, and job done. Why is there this really bad composite just so you could have, 2 wide shots of him? It's like, if you don't have the material, but you have material that's good, use that instead. But I guess that wasn't the vision. That wasn't the ship of Theseus.
Yeah. But so,
But
yeah.
I will say, I really liked the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that's going to be good.
Yeah.
That is a good palate cleanse for this movie. But yeah, this...
I watched them back to back. I finished Snyder Cut, and then it was midnight-ish, and then I watched Falcon, and I'm like, oh, this is good. This is so again, this is what I've been saying to folks who ask me my opinion between Justice League Snyder and 2017.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Justice League Snyder is a very okay miniseries. It's okay. It's not the worst thing I've seen. It's fine. It's but it's a very expensive okay miniseries. It's not a movie. Also because I don't know if you've ever worked in a movie theater, but you can't do 3 turnovers on a 4-hour movie. It wouldn't be great. Anyways, but okay, so but he needed those 4 hours to tell the story, which is not great. That's the medium you were given is, hey, try to tell a story in this amount of time, and he couldn't achieve that goal. So he didn't do a good job. But when you're watching the Marvel cinematic stuff, where they're straight up this is going to be 6 episodes, and we're going to have room to breathe, and it's still going to feel like a Marvel thing, but we're going to actually identify with characters and get to know their story a bit more and give them moments. It felt like he tried to mix those two at the end of the day, where he's like, I'm going to give you these little moments. It's like, cool. Those moments aren't tying to the story you're telling me. It's being told a story by someone very excited, where it's like, and then the Flash did this. Oh man, the other day, the Flash, there was this car accident when he was applying for a job, and he did this. It was so great. That was with the mother boxes? No. But he did that the other day. So then it's like, okay, cool. Thanks for that.
I do feel like there was, because what a lot of other things I see, just as kind of a close, is there was, whenever this film, the Snyder Cut, came out, everybody went, look what he managed to make a 4-hour movie for $70 million. It's like, no. He'd already spent $250 million before Joss Whedon was hired to spend another $30 million to do reshoots to try and fit the $250 million film into 2 hours. So then and plus the marketing of that original one, you've already crossed 300 odd million. So he has made taking out the marketing budget and everything, and taking out the Whedon stuff, because none of that obviously was used. He spent $320 million to make this 4-hour TV mini-series movie event film thing. So it wasn't like it was cheap to do across the board. It wasn't like he achieved something. Like if he made that whole movie for $70 million, I'd be like, fucking
that would have been amazing.
Give this man every franchise ever if he can turn this around for $70 million. But I do just want to caveat people to explain that a lot of money was spent before Zack Snyder left the project, and a lot of visual effects stuff was done. There was an interview, I think Kevin Smith interviewed the VFX supervisor, and he was like, from Weta, and he went, it was really hard because we had to go back into the archive and find the old project files, and they were done on an old version of the software, so we had to figure out a way to bring it into the new version of the software or reinstall the old version of the software. And I'm like, these don't sound like that big of a problem.
It's half hour.
I was like,
their biggest problem was having a new director come in and be like, all right, how can I sideline this person of color character, and we'll just edit all of him out of this film because we don't need.
The sad part is I feel like there is a bit of the Cyborg stuff that should have been in the studio cut, but I also feel like there's no way to fit any of that in without the movie going over 2 hours.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't, like, it's a saying I used to hear from an art, and this is someone who, I've corporatized my ability to do art, which is fine. I like money, and I like making art, and I found a way to do both. But, like, it was an art teacher I had where he's like, if your job is making art, and someone comes to you and is like, I need you to draw a block house. Like, I want, like, a little house with a little roof. That's what I want from you. And you hand them the Mona Lisa. You failed. It's like, it's cool that you can do the Mona Lisa, and you can put that in your own art show, and that's fantastic. But the job was...
Yeah,
here's like, the job they handed to Snyder was like, hey, we need a movie that's this long that tells a coherent story. And he's like, 4 hours to tell that story? And
well,
they're like, no!
It strikes me as though, like, the other
job.
comparison would be, like, take, you know, like, any of the things where, like, social media stuff at the moment. If you went to Reels and went, okay, Reels, I have 30 seconds to tell this mini thing in, he would go, 30 seconds isn't enough. I need at least 45 minutes. Yeah. And it was like, but the point was you need to get this into 30 seconds. It's like, but I couldn't, so I made 27 Reels, and you have to watch all of them to get this. But we only asked for one.
At the end of the day, this was, again, like, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it is a product that is for sale, and there are goals in mind for it. And it's cool that we get cool products about nerdy, weird stuff with millions of dollars spent on visual effects and thousands of people supported. And also, if you're watching Justice League, and you should, I think you should watch it, but, like, try to watch it through legal means where the money you spent on it goes towards it, so that the industry knows, hey, people are willing to watch, like, cool fan cut versions of shit. Like, I still think that supporting is important, but, like, it's a commodity with a system behind it. And if you mess with that too hard, then yeah, you're not going to get a 4-hour movie. Like,
well, I think it's the other thing, obviously, like, is that I don't think we want the Snyder Cut to become the precedent for the future of things where you don't like this thing, ergo you complain enough, you'll get a new version of it. Which, you know,
the only time that was good was Sonic the Hedgehog. That was the only time where that was totally justified and fine.
But now online, there is this precedent of like, oh, we complained about Sonic, we got him redesigned. We parked on about Snyder Cut, we got a Snyder Cut released. Oh, well, I want a new version of this, and a new version of this, and a new version of that, and they didn't do my version that was in my head of this thing, so they should remake that. So let's complain. And it's like, that is a dangerous slope.
Particularly when people are starting to do that at trailers.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I find really disheartening. Where it's like, you haven't seen it yet, man. Like, what do you, like, don't watch it.
The thing with trailers is, like, as everyone has seen, trailers can be the most misleading things on the planet. And I mean, Nick has seen a couple that even I've done for, like, some of those god-awful corporate jobs.
Oh yeah, you've lied through your teeth.
I was like, I helped this company sell, like, these two... Was it Noel Clark? Is that his name? The guy.
Yeah.
He made these movies, and he produced them. He didn't make them. His movies are actually usually pretty good, but it was abysmal. And I got hired to make a trailer, and I spent like a month making a trailer that is so misleading that Amazon paid this guy money to buy his movie off of him.
Yeah.
The end result was that we were all kind of sitting there like, oh, whenever they watch this movie, they're going to be so bitterly disappointed with what they have bought because it is 2 hours of shit. And I have no problem saying it. It was a film called Songbird. I think it has a different name now. It stars Kobe Smulders. They didn't hire me anymore because I told them I'd refuse to edit something that was very in poor taste and help them sell it. So, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I think there definitely is an interesting conversation when it comes to the Snyder cult. I think obviously also probably Warner Brothers from the studio point of view has a lot to blame with this because they have been shown to want to get the results of what, and again, I hate the tribalism. I hate to do this a comparison. However, Marvel have done this so well, it's hard not to. But they obviously want the results that Marvel are getting with their franchises and group up products. Whilst at the same time don't want to do any of the initial legwork in it. And you sit there and go, well, you know, Infinity Game works well because it had 10 years worth of fucking films ahead of it. And you sit there and go, Cap, you know, what is it in Infinity War? Cap has something like 2.5 minutes worth of screen time in the total film. Imagine if you only gave Batman 2 minutes of dialogue in this film.
Well, I mean, they did it to Superman in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah. Well, it's, again, like, it's an interesting thing to watch unfold, particularly like from people. All of us kind of have 1 foot in, 1 foot out of any specific industry thing, where we know the dynamics of like how this stuff gets made. And it's also, by the way, for anyone who's not worked for a major franchise corporation, it's amazing how because it seems like this like Olympic kind of thing where it's like, oh man, that's the best of the best doing the hardest work, top of the field. It's like a lot of this work comes down to someone be like, someone's got to animate Thor's hammer. Who's free right now? You're doing it. Congratulations. You're like, it's like so much of this work is like some of that was probably interns doing their first special effects. Like it made it into the movie. Like,
and from the other end of the spectrum as well is a lot of times whenever there's the whole thing of DC. I see the comments tried to run before they could, which is 100% true, but it's less DC and it will be more. Whenever someone says heads like studios or executive producers can make stupid decisions, that is fundamentally a problem and especially at something at that level where you're spending $300 million. Every single person with a producerial credit wants to chip in, not just their 2 cents.
I call it fingerprinting. They want to feel, if they want something on the screen where they're like, that happened because I said so. And like they need it. I
mean, the problem with the original 2017 movie is you can feel it's like watching Rise of Skywalker, which has the same problems as the 2017 Justice League in a certain amount of ways, where you can feel that there's a story beat here that maybe could have worked, but you're told it has to be this long, and we can't have this, and people didn't like that, so take that out, and people like this now, so put more of that, and people do this, no, this was the thing, and make it like this, and do this, and it has to have this in it as well, and that comes from 50 different sources, and typically directors don't have a huge amount of as much power as you might think they do, because there's so many occasions where you will watch a movie and then you can find out the director was fired and the studio came in, hired their own editor to finish it and released the movie with their name as still director.
I was writing a pilot for a cartoon company that I won't want to name, but it rhymes with Bickle Blodian, and I think I'm covered. I think I'm good to work again. But we were like mid-script, and they're like, kids like fart jokes. I was like, what? They like fart. That character right there. Have that character fart. And I'm like, what? To what end? To why? He's like, well, they like it. They like it. The potty humor. Farts are fine. We're allowed to do farts. It's like, do you want me to write a fart? No, just have him fart. Like in this scene. And then everyone else is like, ew, you farted. It's like, so you hired a writer for a reason, right? It's because you have ideas like this.
Like I like bringing it back to my terrible work on religious TV shows, which I feel like, given that I'm not that religious at all, the fact I've worked on so many religious things is kind of baffling. But like we had an exec from a network that rhymes with Blue Universal, who sat on a call with us, and we did, keeping it on brand with Superman here. Jesus dies, Jesus comes back, and then Jesus ascends. And Jesus is gone in like that. That's how the Bible works, which I discovered really working on this show. I went to, Catholic school. I don't remember any of this shit, but I learned it from the TV show I worked on and having to call evangelical people and Christian things and having to do
I'm a fan of fantasy fiction, so I've read a lot of these stories.
The best, you will then like this note is they were watching the first 3 episodes of the show and they were like, oh, the actor who plays Jesus really pops. Can we get more Jesus? And we're like, well, he's gone. And he went, yeah, but like, is there no way we could just get some more Jesus in there? Like, there's a thing called the Second Coming or something, right? And we're like, yeah, that hasn't happened. He goes, but what if it did? And we kind of all sat in the room and we're like, oh my God. Just like, this is, your only audience is religious people. And you are going to piss them off so hard by telling them, here's the legendary adventures of Jesus, like, thrown in
here. If I know anything about deeply religious people, they're big fans of fanfic, and often they write and follow their own.
You will also, I feel like, both appreciate the other Jesus thing that I remember now that he said, is because there was a bunch of terrible suggestions from this guy about what Jesus could do.
None of this conversation we're streaming live to the internet could ever come back and haunt
us. It will never haunt me in any way. I haven't worked for these guys for like 8 years. So
why would anyone take a single thing we're saying out of context right now and use it to damage any part of our lives?
He mentioned a moment he goes, isn't there a time where Jesus killed a lion and like wore the mane?
Is he thinking of Hercules?
Yes. And that just as I was saying the legendary journeys of Jesus, I was like, oh shit, there was the Hercules thing as well.
Yeah.
And like
In
we're
the
all sitting on a.
cartoon, it was Scar, and then there was like a little Easter egg.
I mean,
Cartoon.
say it might have gone to that point, but like that is how like insane sometimes notes can be of people just so desperate to get their own. You know, to go like you say, whenever you watch it, go, I did that, I made that happen,
Yep,
that was
fingerprint,
me.
Fingerprint.
Yeah,
Fingerprint.
and that is the Studio 2017 cut has the fingerprints of about
You can't
50
see
people.
the screen for the fingerprints in the 2017.
Oh yeah, it is, and in this one here, you can feel the opposite, which is HBO just went, you just come back with the thing.
Here money, give
Tell
thing.
us when it's done.
Which is
Like-
which is the other half of like a
But there's still a problem there too.
yeah, is a double-edged sword because you do kind of need notes back. Like at a certain point, there just needs to be like a limit to what you get back.
Someone could have very gently been like, so with no reason and with a movie full of title cards and display pictures and stuff, we go to an alternate future after we have already finished the main battle and everything is now broken despite the fact that it just got fixed. Any part of that we want to explain before we go into it, or not? Just not maybe just not do it. Maybe just not do it.
And
Have
also
it
the
as a
very
separate thing.
confusing line of what Lois is the key, but then she's also the key to getting Superman to like snap out of his daze. So it's very confusing. Are they referring to that or to something later on? Because technically, you've already seen her be the key to stopping a thing.
It's
They'll
another
have their
kind of
cake and eat it too, and while they're here, they would also like a few other meals, and then they would like you to think about a recipe for the future.
But I will say my closing thought on the Snyder Cut is I am glad that people who liked it. I am glad that Zack Snyder got to get it out of his system and release a film that he had wanted to do back in 2017 and for very sad circumstances didn't get to do. And he released it. I have watched it, and will I ever watch it again? Fuck no.
I'm probably gonna watch it again next week.
just the masochist in you. I think
I have a friend who wanted to watch it, so I'll probably like live stream with them and watch it. I don't think it's I've watched all of the DC movies many times over. I own Superman 3 on like Blu-ray over
But do
here.
you own Superman
I
4:
have-
The Quest for Peace?
Listen, there's a line of it.
Oh, is it Canon Films? Is that the line?
I genuinely don't have I own it digital though, so I do not have the Blu-ray. But like I still think it's watchable. I would advise anyone else to go watch it. I'm gonna watch Snyder's next zombie Netflix film.
Oh, yeah, I'm
excited
gonna-
to
I see that looks fun though. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And Dawn of the
Well,
Dead
also,
is
like,
the one
we know
Snyder
that he
film I
can
like.
do that. Yeah, like we know that he can do a big crowd of zombies and make it entertaining and
Well,
interesting.
like,
so.
I mean, I've got a lot of love for 300 because although that film's got obviously problems, right? It's a damn entertaining film, and I think that's part of the thing
It's
that
a
I struggled.
spectacle.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the things I struggled with. This was there is sequences in it where it was really hard to keep my attention on the screen. And I tried to sit there and think, well, what if I was in a cinema, I'm watching this and there was nothing else going on and I don't have, the internet, my phone right next to me. But at the same time, there were whole sequences that were just really, really struggling. But saying that, on the flip side, there were some great bits that were added into it. I think there were some great expositional bits that actually showed more depth to characters. And I liked that. Even if Cyborg's one was just him brooding on different levels, I did like that we saw more of that. I don't know if I liked Barry being constantly comical because I think it took away from some of the punchier jokes that when he does do them, stupid stuff like where he runs around in the Batcave in the 2017 version wasn't in this one. But I liked that. Oh, look, he's excited. So he's, run around like a little kid and stuff like that. And again, the Bruce giving the speech to Barry, I think was great.
It's a good thing
characters.
we don't have the brunch stuff though. Like I'm glad that's gone.
Yeah, the brunch stuff didn't make sense. But sorry, I'm seeing a hashtag here, and I'm actually not familiar with it. Why is there restore the Snyder Cut?
Because he's already
Is this
thrown
a
it out
Blade
there.
Runner thing where the director's cut is still not the director's cut? We're gonna have a final cut.
I
25 years
suggested-
from now, there'll be another version.
I really want to try and do a fan edit of getting both versions and trying to see if there is a middle ground, which I 100% think there is, of a middle ground of like a 3-hour movie that is like literally the best of both worlds that makes a better overall movie. There's not much in the 2017 movie that I think is worth saying, but there are a few moments that I think actually would help. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in or could be reworked in this one here. So yeah, that is...
I just realized that one of my favorite tiny throwaway jokes was actually had to be edited in to get rid of the "congratulations, by the way" line. Because at the end of the film, when like Batman's like, "Congratulations, by the way," like to Superman, what the 2017 version of that line was, because he said like, "I bought the bank," and then it goes to like the back of his head and it's obviously ADR, but it's like, it's just a reflex now. I don't know, I just do it. I just kind of like, because that actually makes more sense, that line, than him being dumb enough to like, you could buy the house back from the bank. You're a billionaire. You could have just been like, "Hey, I want that house for $5 million," and they'd be like, "Fucking all right." Like, but like, I like the idea where he's more just like, there was definitely easier ways to do that, but like, it's just like the bank owns it. I own the bank. Like, it's just like, like. Yeah, also, I love that he's willing to do that. But again, as someone brought up way earlier, just like, Superman's really important to me. I'm brooding over this. I'm emo over the death of Superman. Hey, remember the mom that he has, which is the reason you didn't murder him? Do you want to check in with her?
What was her name?
What was her name?
Yeah.
I remember carrying his coffin in front of her. And then
literally 2 days ago.
Yeah, literally 2 days ago. And I guess she was already losing the farm at that point, so she wasn't telling Clark either, because it takes about 3 months to go into foreclosure. But
if only he was the greatest detective on the...
If only! And a billionaire who doesn't mind just randomly spending money on things. Like, you would have thought like there would have been a scene of like, "You are set for life. You will never want for anything. Yeah. Like, I've got you covered, Martha. Like, I need a mommy as well if you want to step in, by the way."
Apparently, like, to tie it to something else very real, I'm not going to bring up because obviously we got another conversation, but is a thing that apparently is a running thing with rich superheroes in both Marvel and The Thing, is they don't pay the superheroes they work with. I was going to say,
yeah. In Falcon, I think they do that pretty well, you know, because you're along the lines of when you're watching it, you're pretty much feeling the same emotion as he is. You're like, hang on, you're poor?
But what we didn't find out is that the original guy who worked at the bank that set up the mortgage became a truck driver.
Oh no! And he loves him a burger. You could not separate that man from his goddamn burger.
And what you don't realize is whenever we get to the post-apocalyptic future, what we didn't see is we saw Superman floating, and then you just hear and a truck just pulls up beside them, and he's like, "Don't worry."
I'm gonna close it out with this. What you don't see is evil Optimus Prime showing up from the Shattered Glass universe. And yes, I own several different Optimus Prime.
Driven by the Burger King.
I really wanted a sticker on the back of the truck just saying Jesus is at the wheel.
Yeah. Das Burgermeister. And he just...
That's it. Maybe Lois was killed by the same burger-eating truck driver. We don't know.
But no, I'll say the same as you guys. I think, you know, kudos to anyone who's enjoyed it, but I will say a big fuck you to anyone who says that 4x3 was the intended
it was like,
vision.
And again, I cannot stress enough, a 4-hour movie means you mess something up. It means it should have been like, if they had given him a 5-hour miniseries, I bet you it would have been great. Like, I bet you he could have like done an even better job. But it's like, it's not even comparing apples to oranges anymore. Right now we're comparing like, well, what we've got is half an apple we dropped into sand. Yeah. And then this other apple, which has grown into this horrifying shape, and I'm not sure if it's safe to eat. Like, it's like, all right, well, which one of these do we want?
I guess obviously we kind of all suggest, like, I still suggest, you know, if anybody is curious and they haven't watched it, to watch it. Yeah. There is bits where I could see myself going and watching the final battle again, but I don't see myself ever sitting through a lot of it.
The important thing is if you can find a free HBO Plus or whatever password, and you time it just right for like a free month or week or whatever, Godzilla's coming out later, and I'm sure that someone should talk about that on a live stream.
Yes, they should. It's not like we have had any kaiju conversations before.
I obviously don't know anything about Godzilla or King Kong that I could ever bring into a conversation.
There it is. I wonder if we have a special guest in mind for that one. So what would you guys, like, obviously give it as out of 10? What was your end?
Out of 10?
Or I can give it out of 5.
I mean, it's just I can just reduce.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to give you the 2 options in case
You can make it out of 30-7.
Am I giving you 1 out of 10? Is that too much range for you to work with?
So is it 3.25 or 6.5? Which one would you like?
It's a hard one, I think, to kind of quantify. Because as I say, I think for me, score was off, visuals was off, but I liked a lot of the character development. But then there was long periods in between that character development that was rubbish. So, as you say, I don't think I'll ever watch it again. But it's so I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10 overall.
Batman just donated. Obviously, he likes your.
Thank you, Batman. Appreciate that. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 if I was watching it fresh, and I'd probably bump it up to a 7 out of 10 if I was comparing it to the 2017.
There's a thing. So whenever the 2017 one came out, I think I did it. So we're doing it out of 10 now. So I think 2017 I gave 3 out of 10 as a rating for the 2017 version of it. I think I would give this one probably a 5.5 out of 10 because it is definitely better than what came out. It's definitely not the greatest thing ever made. It doesn't have a flawless pace to it.
It's not poetry. It's not Scorsese. It's not a masterpiece.
And I also feel like it's not the best version of the film that it could be either. No. So yeah, that's why I'm middle of the road.
I thought of how I'm going to end this, for myself at least. And by this I mean just this shallow shadow that I've passed on the world. I'm just gonna, after this shuts down, be done. So this movie, for a DC Comics fan, which again, I'm I like a little bit the DC Comics. In no way is this an Adam West, William Shakespeare bust behind me. Anyways, the Snyder Cut is the slightly okay partner after getting out of a toxic relationship. Where the last one, and it wasn't even a terrible relationship. It wasn't an abusive relationship. It was just you guys should not have been together. You clashed, you were making each other unhappy, and you stayed together too long. And now the next partner you have, you're asking permission for things you shouldn't even have to. Where it's yeah, I'm gonna play video games. Is that fine? And they're yeah, no, totally, I'll watch you. You're you'll watch me? It's such a baseline of expectations where it's yeah, that's fine. That's not the most amazing thing, but I'm glad you have that now. That's the Snyder Cut. Where it's hey, I could watch this movie. And you're good, that's what they're for. You're no, you don't understand. Before, it hurt me. But now, I'm okay with this. I don't want this to be the only movie I have from now on out. But for right now as a rebound, I'm okay with this.
I'm okay with this. I do want to see. I wish there was a magical way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll try and find someone that has not seen the Justice League, the 2017 one. I would love to see an opinion on this film. Yeah, and see going in, because obviously, a lot of my opinions are, apart from the shitty cinematography change, a lot of these are still based on, what worked better versus the 2017 version. Whereas you just want someone to say, oh, did this not work? Would they still be going, oh, that whole walking into the Icelandic village was cringy as fuck. What was that about?
What was your favorite moment in the movie? Oh, the Icelandic singing with the jumper thing might be the most surprising revelation we have from someone who doesn't know.
I will say the fact that they cut out that stupid ass scene where him holding a goon over the edge to try to summon a parademon who then exploded with a symbol of the mother boxes. And I'm yeah, see that's what the other movie was. And then this one's just no, we'll figure out a way for him to know this. It's not that goddamn pile of garbage.
Maybe we need to find that person and make them watch the Snyder Cut first, and then get them to watch the Whedon Cut and see what happens.
We can put it in parallel with our other live show we need to figure out doing, is finding someone who has never seen any Fast and Furious movies and getting them to watch the first one and the last one and explain how we get there.
Yeah.
Which this does let me plug a friend's podcast I was on that I do want more people to listen to, because I want you guys to listen to my episode on this, because I'm very proud of what I've done with it. My buddy Andrew has a podcast called, and I got to take a deep breath for this one, In the 10th Fast and the Furious movie, they will go to space. That is the podcast. That is the name of the podcast. It is In the 10th Fast and the Furious movie, they will go to space. And every episode is just a new guest pitching their version of Fast and the Furious 10 and how they get to space in it.
Okay, that sounds incredible.
He's had some amazing guests. He had Molly Lewis on, who's like a really fantastic musician the other, and he had me on, and I'm so goddamn proud of my pitch.
Did you, just as a if anybody ever listened to the do-over where you were obviously a rig, did you manage to mention one of your favorite astronauts ever?
Oh, yes. I did mention Colonel Chris Hadfield, I believe, at some point. I think I might have just bluntly said Colonel Chris Hadfield out of nowhere and just said I'm required by law to mention that. But yeah, it's a really fantastic podcast, and just go listen to that because I'm a guest on it. And it's stupid and great.
I love, plus, right, Gary, you were made for that podcast. No, I have no idea how you get those people into space, other than Vin Diesel's ego lifts them there.
Okay, do you want my pitch? Because I'll do it right now. Before I have to...
Spoilers. I would listen to the podcast.
No, we just get everybody. If you're curious as to what this thing is, go hit up the podcast.
Yeah, I'll just let you know. I'll just let you know the very first scene in it involves the phrase "lunar motorcycle." So. Really good start. It's a strong start. It starts strong, it ends strong, and yes, I do pitch that Jeff Goldblum should be in it. So just there you go.
Okay, I'm gay. I'm definitely gonna check that one out. You son of a bitch, I'm
in. It's the sweetest thing. Like stop. You had me at lunar motorcycle.
I think we have covered the Snyder Cut as. I'd say as best as we can. Give us a few years, and we'll, Sorry,
Redwood. Yes, there's space Nas.
There's always Nas.
There's always space Nas.
Which is still one of my favorite random things. I think Nick sent it to me years ago. The guy who accidentally put the energy drink in his car.
Yeah.
Oh, just like the Nas energy drink. He poured it in.
It did not make the car go faster, if I recall the story.
That's sugar in a gas
it was
tank.
just as explosive, just not in the right way.
Cool. Well, I thank you again, Tyler, for coming on and chatting. A subject you clearly don't know anything about. There's no evidence. Anyway. And I love the fact that me and Nick, I think I'm wearing a Cobra Kai t-shirt, and I think Nick has is that the Triforce Nerdist?
Zelda Nerdist. Because it was anything I could find that was a color rather than black.
I have on my wall like a mounted Adam West Batman Life magazine cover. I'm a DC fanboy. Marvel, however, is where the money's
at. I mean, you remind us of the time where we got asked to host a DC live stream to roughly about 1.1 million viewers.
It was on the official DC.
Yeah, they asked us in. We went to the headquarters, the headquarters in Cali, and they said, "Hey, we just want you to come on and talk about this week's releases and comics. We know nothing about comics.
They were like, didn't they go like, there's this guy here. He'll be the advisor if you get stuck on anything." And he's like, "Do you want to know anything?" We're like, "What are all of these about?" What can we say? And I think basically the live stream was him explaining to us what was going on in all of these comic runs.
We're like, like what came out this week for DC? I don't know, but I know like the lore and stuff.
Yeah, it was like, I like the lines on this one.
That was maybe not the best day we had of thing, because we had that, and then I managed to talk shit about Smallville in the middle of the DC head office.
They love that. They love it when you do that over there.
Reminded that some of the people who were in that office actually worked on the show.
There was some terrible decisions that day, but it was still fun being asked to do it. We just knew nothing. We were the worst people, because we were like, they'll just give us like Batman and Superman. How can we cock that up? And they're like, here's this thing, and here's this Harley Quinn one. We're like, okay, well we get Harley Quinn, but what the shit is this? Like this thing.
Here's an issue of the new Teen Titans, and you're like, oh great, yay.
Steph hasn't watched any of the Fast and Furiouses. There we go.
Oh, we may have found a test subject.
We may, yeah.
But cool,
It'd be
right?
so
Well,
weird to
Tyler,
watch
do you
them
want to
in
give
reverse
any?
order? So if you watch Fast and Furious in reverse order, and they just become more and more reasonable of films.
What you realize it's all been a journey for a TV, DVD, VHS combo.
That's what it's all about. End of the day.
Tyler, do you want to plug your where people can find you on things
yeah,
other than
you
you
can
pitching?
Other than me pitching that, you can find me on TikTok at Mr. Nickel, MisterNickel. I do a lot of dumb stuff on there, or you can find me on Instagram at DorkZombie, DORK Zombie. If you want to see, I got an iPad Pro and a pencil, and I figured out I can draw, which has been fun. I've been posting a lot there.
Nick very kindly shared the links in the chat, so
oh hooray!
Anybody wants to check it out, they can. And obviously, I'm sure like your TikTok is linked on your Instagram, so as well.
It is because the TikTok gets the better stuff.
So yeah, so if you can't find him on TikTok, you can find him on Instagram and then find him on TikTok as a thing. But yes, Tyler has discovered Procreate on the iPad, I assume, and has been making many a doodle. So
I'm a doodling fiend.
But thank you guys for listening to us talk for a little bit longer. Actually, no, about what we thought we were going to be, apart from some technical problems.
Chatting with us as well. It's nice to hear you guys' thoughts. I mean, like, again, isolation's been hard on everybody, so it's nice to chat to people again and have a mutual love for Martha Manhunter.
Yeah, and by the sounds of it, Tyler definitely wants to come back and talk about a giant monkey and a giant lizard fighting in the city.
For the love of God, I don't even care if it's on stream. Just someone talk to me about that movie when it comes out.
Okay, we can bring that back because I will have some thoughts. I know one person in the chat has some thoughts about the size of a.
Oh yeah, there's the size. And by the way, just anyone out there, if you care about spoilers at all, unfollow Funko on all your stuff.
Oh yeah,
because they did a giant one, and I'm really mad about it.
Oh fuck, that sucks.
No, and like they just dropped it like it was nothing. Not even like, hey guys, like this might not be a thing. Like, nope, just like, hey, yeet, there you go, ruin that for you.
Oh yeah, that was.
I've been avoiding trailers, and someone was like, well, if you put stuff together from the trailers, you can figure it out. I'm like, I didn't need a trailer for the giant lizard fights the giant monkey movie. I'm gonna watch the giant lizard fights the giant monkey movie. No one needed to convince me.
Just all Tyler needed was one shot of Kong, one shot of Godzilla, and a title card said, they gon' fight. And then the title card
I don't even need that. I can literally
let them
roar and then like and I'm like, ooh, whatever that is, I'm gonna watch that.
You know what? No, that's the marketing campaign there. Shot of Kong, shot of Godzilla, and then Ken Watanabe's voice just saying, let them fight. And then just the title card. Done. Marketing over. Yeah. How do we not have jobs in this industry? One of us does. And he is wearing a Superman shirt.
This isn't what keeps the lights on. Oddly enough, this was bought with money from the other one.
God damn it. Cool. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this random rant that spiraled at the end, much like an epilogue in a certain film we talked about.
Thank you so
much.
Wait,
I have one more thing I want to plug just because there's people here.
Okay.
I don't have a link to it. God damn it. Search it on Kickstarter. My buddy, this isn't even mine. It's a friend's thing. But if y'all like comic books, which you obviously do, if you sat here for 2.5 hours watching us talk about a 4-hour comic book movie, my buddy Kevin is directing a documentary about Mike Mignola. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's already fully funded, so like it's guaranteed being made. They've already got a lot of interviews for it. But yeah, it's a Mike Mignola thing called Making Monsters, and it's really cool. They've got like Doug Jones. They just announced Guillermo del Toro is going to be part of it. They've got all these writers, actors, and stuff from it, and huge art package. I'm super excited about it. And yeah, if you like Hellboy or Mike Mignola, I highly suggest it because it's. They started with an ask for $58,000 to finish it, and I think they're around $300,000. They're at like their 8th like unlocked stretch goal. So get onto it while you can and get the most out of it.
Yeah, I had it as a suggested thing on my Facebook ads.
Yep, that's
pop up.
That is my buddy Kevin. He is. I can actually on this one I can guarantee it's being made by a lovely group of people. So.
I'm definitely gonna check that one out, and yes, that is very cool. See, Tyler knows. Tyler's too awesome a guest half the time whenever we have him. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll post up whenever there's another one of these live streams, unless Zack Snyder drops another cut in the next 4
Right.
next 4 hours.
That's a distinctly human shape behind me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's eyes. I don't like whatever this is. All right, well, if you never hear from me again, this is what did it. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Don't blink.